Hello, yes, welcome to Anglesey. Yes, I'm with James Murphy, our pole sitter. James, I feel like you're back where you should be, back on the top spot. You've had some unlucky races recently, haven't you?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I always like blaming myself for the luck and, you know, believe in creating your own luck. But even with that theory, I've had some bad luck recently. But no, we're starting in the right place. We'll see where we end up.
Good luck. Thank you. Well, that's the whistle blown. Unfortunately, we haven't got time for any more interviews. They're sending them out a few minutes early, I think. So I'll hand over to you, Chris. Yes.
Is there a green flag?
We're going to have a chat.
Oh, okay.
But I'm off. Okay.
Head up towards the grid.
It's quite relaxed actually. I had a little chat with James before we went live, and yeah, he's very happy with how qualifying went. He said tyres, obviously, you know, he's got to watch how he manages the tyres with this heat, because it started to go off towards the end of qualifying. But he seems quite happy with, you know, his pace and where he is. Obviously happy with pole. Why wouldn't you be? But yeah, he's going to do his best from there. I think, you know, he's always had the pace, hasn't he? He's just had some unfortunate races recently. Exactly. Well, you know, at the beginning of the season he was doing great, and obviously now, because he's not had such good races, he's 6th in the championship. So yeah, not. Hopefully he can just get those fastest laps and some wins, and he'll be happy.
So that is how 11 car grid lines up.
Was that Henry, did you say? Well, funnily enough, in assembly, I didn't get a chance to go and speak to him, but they kept him to one side. He didn't start in the second spot in assembly area.
Starting from second grid, although potential change to that for what order they're coming around in, but we'll see if that is the order in which they're going to line up on the grid. But either way,
They pulled it, they started him further back.
The guy over there, next to the buggy, the tall one, says okay on his back, the one that's just stood up there, he'll know.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's it, yeah, thank you.
push down, one of which you have.
He's got 5-place grid penalty from the last race. So he's going to get some points for second in super pole, but he's got unfortunately.
Wade, can you hear me? camera's saying there's no sound on the live stream. Oh, okay, fine. Oh, did you see my message to you about Henry? Henry Heaton got a 5-place grid penalty that was a knock-on from Donington. Yep, yep, no problem. Thanks.
outside there whilst staying within track limits. As they go off and up through Peel once more. You can see that Henry Heaton now is right on the tail of Lewis Thompson. So the gap there is come down since last time through. Last time over the line was Lee Bristow any closer, maybe a 1/10 of a second is all, so it doesn't look like Lee Bristow is able to yet make the impression. If these guys start fighting more and more, it might be that he can start to close that gap, but he certainly would want to start making that move now before time runs out on him. Aaron Head again looking like he's pressuring James Murphy. James Murphy just holding it slightly to the left of the edge of the track just to discourage any moves as they tuck into this bus stop and use the curb on the exit, and they come across to start another lap. That was lap number 10 complete and in the books, moving into our 11th lap now. 1:32 is the best lap set by James Murphy on that last time through, so a good lap time for him. A couple of seconds off of where we were in pole. So the temperature and the fact they're having to race each other shows how much time they kind of lose out with, but certainly the temperature and looking after your tyres is part of the job of the drivers in this top flight of Caterham Motorsport, the 5th step of the Caterham Motorsport ladder. With Aaron Head to the outside once more. He's got a run of speed this time. Can he break that little bit late? He had to get on the brake just a bit earlier than James Murphy, although he's hanging on in there this time. Still not going to be able to make it move, and will that give out to James Thompson again? So Lewis Thompson the option to come up the inside of him. It certainly looks like it. Certainly that's a risk-reward manoeuvre for Aaron Head now. If he holds on around the outside there, it does give an opportunity for these drivers behind to try and tuck up the inside. Again, Lee Bristow, lost out some more time that lap time through, so it doesn't look like Lee Bristow is going to be able to impact at this stage on this race. James Murphy, though, out front and protecting Aaron Head. Good run round the outside there, but he is going to have to capitulate. James Murphy will have the run out, and he will show him the edge of the track, which he does. Lewis Thompson now has got probably the best run of all of them coming down the hill. That doesn't seem to be able to make the most of that. Henry Heaton again poking out to make sure his car stays out of that hot air. Doesn't seem to be able to make a particular move on to Lewis Thompson yet. Still got 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and with a 1:32 second lap, we've still got a few laps of this race left to go. So James Murphy leads him through the banking corner and out through Church. Again, this right-hander, you try and take as much speed as you can. Looking at their brake lights, doesn't look like you need to press the brake, but certainly need to pick and choose when you get on the accelerator to maximise your speed round there. These Avon slick tyres and the race focus suspension giving these cars a tremendous amount of grip and endurance as they go round those corners. The inside there, Aaron Head absolutely clobbering that curb once more, and he's in that same position, which allows Lewis Thompson to have another look. So risky play as we come towards the end of this race with 2 minutes left to go. And that is going to seems to be where the crescendo of this race is going to happen as we come into the latter stages of this race. Yeah, Lee Bristow now 3.6, so he's lost another second since we started monitoring his gap to those lead group, and he'll be probably more worried about whether he's going to be attacked from behind. But at the moment, he's just had a bit of a lonely race in that midfield. Aaron Head really is able to stamp on those brakes late into that hairpin, looking for the tuck under this time, but not able to make that one work. So with a run on James as they come on down the hill, and it is Henry Heaton also looking to the outside then of Lewis Thompson, having to go a bit defensive there, tucking away. Does have enough space to come back, but a little bit of a compromise line that time, as we can see, without his side doors on that car, he is able to we can see his hands moving. I think that was the last lap board given, because we are down to 1 minute left with a 1:32 second lap. So we are on to the last lap then of this 7 championship race, the first of 3 for these drivers over the course of this Anglesey race weekend. He now is looking a bit more tasty, isn't he? Looking like he wants it, as does Aaron Head behind James Murphy. They've split into 2x2s. They've seen that last lap board, and Aaron Head's got to figure out, what can I do? Can I get late enough on the brakes up into Rocket this time through to make this stick? They're both on the brakes about the same time. James Head has a run round the outside though, and he has managed to protect it again. Lewis Thompson behind also managed to protect from Henry Heaton that time through. James Murphy has got a bit of a run of speed up the hill, and therefore will be able to protect through Peel as well. He'll have a protected run up all the way through until the hairpin now, which is going to be the next up. See Lee Bristow there in that mid-ground, and then behind him we've got Dale Head, who's next up, and Andy Lees is not going to make it across to him, but he's had a good late run through this field. Andy Lees side by side then for the lead as they go into the hairpin. Aaron Head is later on the brakes that time through, but James Murphy still manages to hold it to the apex and does protect it, although he's gone a little bit wider than expected, and Aaron Head now got to run for him down the hill, really having to go defensive as they come into the bus stop. Aaron Head's got a bit of an overlap as they come, so James Murphy's not going to be able to use the whole width of the track, but he still managed to protect. Has Aaron got any time to get past him as they come up to the line? It's going to be close, but James Murphy takes that win over Aaron Head, and it is Lewis Thompson who takes third place over Henry Heaton. Lee Bristow there we see coming across the line in that 5th place, and then we're looking for Dale Head, who crosses the line now, and here's Tom Eden just ahead of Gary Lapidus. So these two have had their race-long battle as they take the line there. And just waiting for Johnny Jarrett, and at some point in that race we lost Chris Moore. Didn't see where we lost Chris Moore, but he had to pull to the pits at some point by the looks of things. So a good result there for James Murphy. Win for number 2 for him this season. He has won and he's been on the podium multiple times, but said he had some bad luck which has dropped him out of championship contention. He starts down in that kind of 6th or 7th place in the championship, and but he'll be well happy with a win here today. Showed his intent from early on, really showing that he wasn't happy to be anywhere on this circuit other than in the lead, and the only persons who have actually overtaken at more than one place around the circuit as well. He's thanking all the marshals out there on the banks and the spectators and crowds we've got there, congratulating our drivers on a great result of the race weekend. So, yeah, thanks as ever to all of our marshals who stand out there, whether it comes rain or shine. Anglesey, you never know, you've got plenty of sunshine for this race weekend. But yeah, it was a great result there, and Aaron Head will be really pleased with that result from a championship perspective as well. 2nd place is great points for him over Henry Heaton, who had Lewis Thompson there also acting as interference, stealing a couple more points away. And with the Super Pole points as well, I think that will give Aaron Head even more of a comfortable lead in the championship. So yeah, as we come in, so confirming the results then of that race, James Murphy won that race ahead of Aaron Head and Lewis Thompson. Henry Heaton, Lee Bristow was 5th, Aaron Head was 6th, Tom Eden was 7th, Lapidus 8th, Andy Lees 9th, and Johnny Jarrett completed the top 10. Chris Moore dropped out of that race after 10 laps. See them all there lining up now into Parc Ferme area. James Murphy there. Aaron Head's already out the car. I'm sure whilst we thought it might be cooling down in the evening, it's still absolutely sweltering out there. Well, James Murphy got a smile on his face though as he extracts himself from his 420R machinery, his Caterham 7 Championship UK car. Having a little bit of trouble with his lap straps there. Looks like the 2 DPR teammates having a good race, enjoyed that one. And
okay.
Yeah, looks like Sam's down there in our assembly at Parc Ferme, so she'll have a word with James now.
Yes, thank you. I'll move forward and have a word with James. Congratulations, James. Not only did you get pole position, win the race, and you got fastest lap.
Did I? That's lovely. That's a hat-trick. I'm going to call that a hat-trick. Yeah, lovely race. All credit to Aaron. That was, I know he's racing for a championship, but I know he likes wins, and he could have made that, he probably could have forced something there that may have been ugly, may have not, and he didn't. He was absolutely genuine, raced really well, really hard, and yeah, I've got a horrible feeling I'm not going to be able to keep him behind tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll move around and speak to Aaron. Aaron, congratulations on 2nd place. Good clean racing, James referred that to.
Yeah. I think obviously it was lucky to be my teammate, but going around the outside a couple of times. But no, it was a really enjoyable race, to be honest with you. Very hot out there, you know, the shoes probably doesn't look too good for wear underneath, but apart from that, no, it was an enjoyable race, pretty tidy the whole way through. Thankfully those two didn't get too involved behind us, and yeah, we just had good pace all round, so yeah, it should be good for the next one.
All right, lovely. Thank you, Aaron.
Cheers.
Right, I shall hand back to you now, Chris.
Thank you. Yes, we are going back to back here So there's from one race we go straight into the next race, and you can see that the Lovecars Caterham Roadsport Championship are up onto the circuit now, and you can see them there all just getting lined up by our marshals before they head out onto their green flag lap. This is the first of two 20-minute races for our Caterham Roadsport Championship cars. And yeah, the qualifying this morning, Theo was kind of an unexpected pole position, I'd say. I don't know if that's his first ever pole position, but certainly would be contention for that. But yeah, his other championship rivals are still up there, though. Charlie Lower and Jeff Newman, who come into this this weekend as those championship leaders. And yeah, Freddie Chiddicks is third place in the championship, and he starts in fifth. Plenty of track limits given to drivers, though, this morning. During that qualifying session, we're just getting the cars in the right place. A little bit of William James there, not able to get to his position because it was being taken by, not sure who that is, but he's getting reversed into his correct position as we come here. Yeah, so yeah, lots of track limits given in qualifying this morning. So yeah, sign of things potentially to come. But yeah, Jeff Newman has had a great run of it so far this season. After a bit of a tricky start at Brands Hatch, he's taken 5 of the following 6 opportunities to win races. So doing a fantastic job. Charlie Lower won the opening 2 rounds and hasn't managed to step onto the top step since that point. One other person who has, though, is Freddie Chiddicks. So never count those 3 out, and they'll certainly form part of our racing today. As they're heading off then on their green flag lap, an opportunity for them to check out the circuit conditions, see what it feels like after this morning's qualifying. It's quite a long time since they've been out there on track, and obviously it's the evening time now, so things will be changing. The breeze is there, and temperatures may be cooling off just a little bit as they head out there on this track. So yeah, it's a little bit of a chance to try these things out, to test out where their car is, make sure it all feels good, make sure they conceal the marshals posts and the track conditions, see if there's any oil being dropped by any of the races. We had a bit of endurance race here this afternoon, and therefore yeah, they've also had a chance for conditions to change with maybe oil or whatever. But as I can confirm the grid order then as they're going around. Theo is on pole position. Charlie Lower lines up second. Jeff Newman comes third. Philip Clark is fourth. Freddie Chiddicks is going to line up in 5th place. William James comes in 6th. Mark Kendall next up in 7th. David Yook 8th. Mark Jones is 9th. 10th is James Cook. 11th is Mark Janisweski. Michael Banton is 12th. Friday is in 13th. Louise Deason is in 14th. Julian Roebuck is in 15th. Tom Noakes is in 16th. And then in 17th is Benja Headley, James Moon, Richard Ainscoe. Richard Ainscoe is in 19th. Paul Castle is 20th. Mark Williams is in 21st. Chris Roberts 22nd. And got Neil Perry in 23rd. Simon Patel 24th. 25th, Alan Bateman. 26th, Ray Radford. Ian Summers is 27th. And Charles Vincent is 28th on the grid. Okay. So the first of their 2 20-minute races for this weekend then. We see them lining up now on the grid. Charlie Lower there on the left, and we have Theo on the right. Jeff Newman there in the blue and yellow machinery, also up there with Philip Clark. A great result for Philip Clark to be up there in that 4th place. I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that result. And yep, we've got the rest of the field coming through and getting themselves lined up ready for the start of the first of 2 Caterham Roadsport races. Their second race will happen tomorrow. See the green flag at the back then and now we're looking for the cars to take the 5-second board before then getting set off for the first of our 220 races, and they head off then down into turn 1. And Richard Ainscough there, you can see going up the inside of 3 of them. That's going to get uncomfortable, but Charlie Lower makes a better start than Thea Theato. He sits into that 2nd place. Jeff Newman into that 4th place, just behind Philip Clark, loses the rear of that car just a little bit as the rest of this 28 car field flow on round then through and down towards Church, with the magnificent Snowdonia National Park in the background there as they head off around these coastal straight, although as I said earlier it's not particularly straight, heading up then into a Rocket for the first time. Some Banton there alongside Cook. They're all late on the brakes. Charlie Lower fully locked up there as he heads up. They've both gone out wide. Charlie Lower is actually going to take to the grass. Jeff Newman manages to hold it up the inside. Thea Theato is holding it back just into 3rd place of Philip Clark, and also that someone else got contact behind, and it looks like he's been lost a wing but also been sent into the barrier. Doesn't look like any significant contact there at this stage, so he will be able to continue on. Louis Decent also hanging the rear of the car out as she goes up and around the corner down into Siemens for the first time. So it is Charlie Lower who leads over Jeff Newman then, who has made a good start back into that comfortable position where he's used to, right at the front of the field. Thea Theato has not lost all the places yet, but he's dropped a couple in this opening lap. And there is Freddie Chiddicks. Is it going to be the normal terrible threesome at the front of this grid? They are always up there, always battling with each other, always backwards and forwards, and it's always great action to watch. James Moon there with a little bit of a tyre rub, it looks like, so maybe he was one of the ones that got contact as they went down and out of a Rocket the last time through. Louis Deason there ahead of number 8 in the Minty car, and Rocco Ainscough following on as they head out then. So confirmation that it's Lower over Newman, Thea Theato. Freddie Chiddicks came across in 4th place. Then it's Clark, Kendall, James and Jones. Januszewski in the red car there, and that rub is getting a little bit worse on the car there. So I wonder whether James will have that to deal with. If it cuts into the tyre, it can cause a puncture, so it's something to be aware of for sure. As then we see Charlie Lower then heads Jeff Newman as they go off and up into Rocket this time through. There is the Banton car and also the number 45 of Rook as they head on up. Definitely a little bit, so that tyre rub's definitely something to be careful of. Another thing to be watching out for is the fact that a lot of these cars, Fred Chiddicks is going to look around the outside of the peel at the top of the hill here. Don't think he's going to be able to make it happen this time, but that's certainly a move that he wants to make stick. You see Januszewski coming round as well. There's Louis Deason, Rocco Ainscough. There's James Moon. So James Moon, it's not James Moon with the rub then, so it's a car a few ahead of him. So I wonder whether that's Noakes or Cook maybe, who's got the rub. We'll pick out who has got the tyre rub a little bit later, but nevertheless, Thea Theato. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Looked like Clark outbraked himself, and he's taken out Freddie Chiddicks, so one of the championship contenders. Another car, Rocco Ainscough, absolutely locked up. In fact, have we got any tyre? Have we got a sort of liquid down there? But the 3 cars all locked up in quick succession. It looked like some bad damage on the front of Rocco Ainscogh's car there as well, where he had contact. Wonder whether we're going to have a safety car to cover that off. Looks like we got a car maybe coming into the pits, yes. So it is the number 11 there, and that is the number 11 of James, William James there, pulling it into the pits. But it looked like Clark just lost, we definitely have got some, the Rocco Ainscough lost the front right wheel. It's going to have a bit of tidy up, so I'm pretty sure we will have a safety car situation going on there. Yeah, look, 3 cars locked up all in the same place. Don't know whether they were just pushing. So I was about to say, with the temperatures out there, the tyres do start getting, they lose all their grip. Jeff Newman looking to the outside as they head up this straight, or they're not straight, heading up into Rocket. Going to see whether he can tuck it down the inside. He can't do, so he capitulates, and Charlie Lower takes that lead. They've got that waved yellow flag there, so safety car has been deployed. Let's see whether the drivers spot that as they head on around the circuit. But yeah, so Charlie Lower has made the best of the opening part of this race then. Second on the grid, he's managed to hold the lead of the race for a little while now. And yeah, it's Jeff Newman has made that good start from the second row to make his way up. Just watching Mark Williams there, having to adjust and avoid a car there. I don't know if he had realised yet that the safety car boards, or maybe the field clumped up. Double waved yellows there for Rocco Ainscough, a sad sight for his car. A little bit of a replay that you could see just up the corner of our corner of the eyes there. Rocco Ainscough also just out-braking himself. Too many cars taking too many late moves. It didn't look like the 51 car had an opportunity to stop there. Not sure what happened to Ray Radford. I don't know whether, again, it was just a case of carrying too much speed and getting caught out by the rest of the field, compressing as they went into the hairpin that time through. So we've got 2 laps in the books already as we head on down and under the safety car conditions. Then Charlie Lower acting as safety car at the moment, ahead of the field. Theo Theato holding on in that 3rd place. I'm sure he'll be happy with a new put back together car ready to go again, and he'll be pleased with 3rd place at this stage. Kendall, another person that we've seen up and down through the field a little bit this season, so it's good to see him back and back in contention then, and back in action, and putting his green car up there into that 4th place. You can see him there in that green car, ahead of number 2, which is Mark Jones, and he is ahead of Banton in the kind of black and white machine that we can see on our screen there. And following on then is Rook in the red, and followed by Cook. As we've seen many times throughout this season, it's Rook and Cook battling out there together, on track together. The fastest lap so far is Mark Jones, so he's also getting an extra point at this stage of the race for that fastest lap. As we see the safety car here carrying them through and acting as bunching the field up. The idea of the safety car is to make sure that the field all bunch up in one location, and that means that the marshals have plenty of opportunity then to deal with whatever the issue is out on track. And we saw that the issue there was to tidy away Rocco's car. A little bit of a replay then of the start there. Good start from Charlie though, around the outside of Theo Theato. Got a little bit bogged down, didn't he? The rest of the field all fanning out and heading on through. We saw them both running wide on the opening corner of that lap, and that's how Jeff Newman got back ahead of Theo Theato, who then had to protect himself from Phil Clark, who we saw having that little bit of issue. There is that lock-up as they're from a sort of reverse angle as they both dropped onto the gravel and grass. Theo Theato though held on into that 3rd place, and that was the contact a little bit further back, and was it William James who contacted him? And there's that final bit of contact where Phil Clark just looked like he outbraked himself and took out championship contender Freddie Chiddicks, and Rocco Ainscough had an independent accident behind him with Ray Radford. So lots going on in that early part of the race there, and lots of action already from these road sport drivers. And you can see they're still cars trying to work out where everyone's going. William James, they're locking up just in avoidance of Freddie Chiddicks' rear of his car. The safety car leads them through. The lights are still on at the moment, aren't they? So it looks like either we're getting close to tidy up. You can see that there's marshals there still picking up pieces, maybe just checking out the surface of the track down there as well, but overall looks like we're fairly clean and ready to get back racing. So just keep an eye out for whether that safety car light does go out, or whether we have another lap. I think because at this stage it would have gone out already, therefore we have got another lap of the safety car while they just complete tidy up and maybe having a quick check of barriers if they've been contacted. 11 minutes of this 20-minute race to go, so just approaching that half distance. I think by the time the safety car comes back round with them, they will be just over that half distance mark. And as we said, Jeff Newman coming in here on a run of form. He's got 3 wins back to back, and after a podium a little bit earlier, he's actually won 5 of the last 6 races that we've done. So Jeff Newman is absolutely on a run of form, but it's Charlie Lower who won the opening 2 rounds and really does need to keep winning out over Jeff Newman if he would like to come back into this championship. Currently trails by 9 points in the championship. However, with drop scores, not all is lost. Drop scores don't really become relevant until the end of the season. So for now, we'll just keep with the championship totals as they are, but it's worth saying that he will come back into play as the season goes on. See the lights there on the safety car. Still flashing away as we head on around this church. Much reduced speed, obviously, as the the group all grouped together. But if I was a driver sitting in those seats, I would be readying myself for a restart, because it did look like everything had been tidied away. Great to see there's a smiley fan club, brilliant out there on the banks to have the spectators there enjoying plenty of Caterham action this afternoon. There's never a dull moment when Caterhams are in town, and we've got people here all ready to watch in this fantastic weather that we've got here at Anglesey. So about 30 degrees forecast today, and I think similar tomorrow as well. Certainly you can get one or two weather types at Anglesey, and the other one is pretty wet and miserable and windy. So it's great that you can see Anglesey in all its glory today and join all this action with us. So certainly we enter that 9 minute 36 seconds, so we are over halfway now. Looking for those lights again. I think they'll go out as we exit Siemens and go up into the hairpin. I think that's where the drivers will have the maximum opportunity to see, so they tend to turn them off in a position where all the drivers will have an opportunity to see that they've gone out and they know that they're ready for that restart. So can Charlie Lower protect from Jeff Newman, the man on form? Can Theathiato hold on to that third place? He's certainly been looking like he can do so after an initial scary turn up at Rocket on that first opening lap. He's certainly managed to hold on. Philip Clark and Freddie Chicks has had to drop back. Philip Clark will be either in the race and deep in the field. He's showing in 17th across the line, so he does sound like he's still in this field. He's certainly almost certainly he'll get called up to have a chat about that after the race with the stewards. But there are the spectators. They're all enjoying this lovely weather out there. I'm sure they're drinking plenty of fluids and slapping on plenty of that sun cream. You can see the lights have gone out. We are getting ready then for a restart. Charlie Lower just manoeuvring his car. Jeff Newman sort of ignoring all the weaving going on. He's just absolutely intently watching to see when he can get on that accelerator. Charlie Lower, though, when is he going to get on that accelerator? Is he going to leave it very late, or is he going to see whether there is a gap? Certainly there's no gap at this point. And it looks like he's going to pick up just as they go through the bend. Jeff Newman was right on him, though. Theathiato lost out a little bit there, as did Mark Kendall. Green flag, you can see there, is waving furiously for the drivers to all let them know that the racing is now back underway. Charlie Lower leads them through turn one then and up into banking for this first time on the restart. Theathiato just looking more in his mirrors now than he is in the group in front. There's Banton, Cook and Rook show. Januszewski comes up after that, and Roebuck and Headley and Deason having a great run up here in the top 12. That's probably the highest finish that I think I've seen her, if she can complete that. So let's see whether she can make that happen. Yeah, so far this year her best result has been 19th, so considerably higher up the order. Jeff Newman, though, absolutely hounding the back of Charlie Lower as they head up into Rocket. And Charlie Lower, though, did protect it and manages to keep it on circuit this time, but Jeff Newman is showing that he is not happy to sit in that second place continuously. But Charlie Lower has more to lose at this stage. He needs to beat Jeff Newman. If he doesn't beat Jeff Newman today, his championship is would be quickly slipping away as we head firmly into the second half of this season. Still 6 race opportunities, including this one, to go for these drivers, though, so still plenty of opportunity. There's Tom Noakes in the Minty car, and there's Rocco Ainscoe's car being delivered back to Caterham, where they'll see whether they can get those that front suspension fixed ready for tomorrow's race. You can see Charlie Lower really late on the brakes there, and Jeff Newman showing that Charlie Lower was on the brakes late because he locked up a tyre just gently as they went into the hairpin that time through. But Charlie Lower still managed to protect. He's having to tuck to the inside there, a bit of dust in the background as one of the drivers drops a wheel over the edge of the track. Jeff Newman having to tuck there into that second place, though, looking quite keen to move forward. Banton in the 43, followed by the 45 of Rook, and then Cook in the Welsh Festoon car. He, I'm sure, will have plenty of track and family around the track here today, and we'll be looking to see whether he can bring a good result. Certainly top 7 or top 8 at the moment is a good result for him. You know, we've seen him further up the field before, but he's in this season so far, I think he knows where he needs to be on track, and he's looking to see whether he can make a couple more places up. And certainly they're well within reach, aren't they, at the moment, as we come down towards that final 5 minutes of the race. When you watch them going round, and I think Sam's down there with Rocco Ainscoe, and so you can hear from him as we sort of get extracted from the race.
Yes, I'm down here with Rocco and Ray, so let's hear from these guys. Guys, what happened?
So I think there was a bit of a spin further up the field into the hairpin, and that backed up quite a lot of the cars. So a bit of heavy braking. I braked and went sort of down the outside to try and avoid it, and just came to a stop just in the run-off area. Well, where do you pick up then, Ray?
Yeah, sounds a good idea. Yeah, I thought I'd had a good start. I made up a couple of places. I was chasing Simon Patel around, and I got a very good tow, Simon. I could see the traffic on the inside, and I thought I'd be clever and go at the outside. Didn't realise how fast I was going. Thought I was going to drive around everybody. Braked as hard as I could. Too much speed, and slid into Rocco good and hard. Made a mess of his car, and a bit of a mess of mine. So not feeling very clever at all. Very disappointed.
Don't worry, don't worry. These things happen. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It was good, some really good racing going on up until then. But you know, these things happen, and
it's racing.
You know, it's racing.
They do indeed, yeah.
We came together at Snetterton as well, so we're not unfamiliar with this.
It's something magnetic.
Yeah, there's something a bit magnetic about us.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yep, so back to the race then. Nice to hear from those, but Charlie Lower does still lead this race ahead of Jeff Newman, who is just taken the fastest lap of the race there, so he's going to get an extra point at the moment for that fastest lap of 43.819, and Thea Theato is still in that third place. He's got himself a little protection comfort zone, hasn't he, behind this, the Banton, Cook and Rook show, and it is now Cook ahead of Rook, so he is, in the time that we were just having those interviews, has managed to make it through and past one of those drivers. Can he make another position up as he heads up into the latter 3.5 minutes of this race? Yeah, certainly looking like it's still these lead two, though. Are they going to be, I think, is this battle going to the end? It's definitely going to the end, isn't it, with 3.5 minutes to go. Just checking the lap record for Roadsport, and it's actually a 142.7, so there's still a little bit of time to go. I think in these really hot temperatures it's going to be tough to try and beat lap records this weekend. You need cooler air generally to do that, but there is confirmation of Jeff Newman's fastest lap at the moment of a 43.8, so a second off at the moment of that those best lap record that we've got so far. It does look like Mark Jones is closing up on the onto Kendall, though, doesn't it? So Mark Jones looks like he's making some good movement late in this race as we come down to this crescendo of this first of the Caterham Roadsport 20-minute races, and they have another one tomorrow. So Mark Kendall in that grey, Mark Jones in following on from Kendall in the green machine. So Jones in the grey, Kendall in the green. Jeff Newman, though, after that little bit of attack from last time through, drop back just a touch, but it's certainly not out of this, and certainly will be looking to do that. Matt Banton hanging that rear of the tyre out. As I was saying earlier, these tyres really do start losing their grip once they overheat, and you can set up your cars differently so you can have different tyre pressures going on. And it's potentially that some of these drivers will have tyres that will last slightly better as the heat goes on. Also, drivers who have been a bit calmer at the early part of the race maybe can also benefit from that in the latter stages. There's Cook ahead of Rook, though, looking up. We've got Cook looking up the inside as we head up into Rocket there. I'm not sure that's going to work for him. Banton still holding on. Jeff Newman, though, does take the lead. Sorry, I was looking at the background there. Didn't spot that Jeff Newman has now taken the lead for the first time, although Charlie Lower's looking back down the inside of Peel, not going to make it be able to stick. So Jeff Newman with 1.5 minutes. I think we're going to be coming down to the last lap. So this is the penultimate lap now, and that's the first time we've seen Newman lead this race. Has he timed that perfectly? Has he been protecting his tyres and giving himself just that little bit of comfort zone? Certainly not got any comfort from behind at the moment with Charlie Lower there. And remember, Charlie Lower cannot afford. He's going to shove it around the outside. We saw Aaron Head doing that earlier, and it didn't quite work for Aaron. It's not quite working for Charlie as Jeff Newman managed to tuck to the late apex and protect. He's going to protect down the inside of this track all the way into the bus stop if necessary. He will not want to let let Charlie Lower have a look at the inside, and he does have a little sniff just to unsettle Jeff there, but nothing that he couldn't deal with. There is now a fastest lap for Mark Kendall in this green machine, so he's caught onto the back of the Thea Theato. So this race, as they come onto that last lap, then is not over for any of these top positions and these top podiums paying spots. Jeff Newman, though, is currently in that top paying position. He is going to have to protect himself out of this banking. You would have thought Rocket, if he can protect up there, he's got a good chance of holding on then to the rest of this lap. We've seen that Rocket, as we come around Church this time, but the next corner that we're going to come to, the tight left-hander, is the one where we've seen most of the manoeuvres happening this weekend. Where's he going to go? Is he going to protect? He's letting the inside go. We saw earlier on that doesn't always mean that you're going to get the inside of this corner. I think he might have let one slip by him there. He's late on the brakes though as they go up, but Charlie Lower is on that outside line, has managed to keep it within track bound, so he's going to have the inside as they head down. He's lost the rear, which means that Thea Theato is going to have a chance to get past Jeff Newman. Jeff Newman though is going to have to come across and tuck on the inside. Thea Theato does have an overlap on the inside. Jeff Newman trying to get to the outside, but he's on the dust. That's going to send him wide. He's going to lose that position to Thea Theato, and also Mark Jones. It's gone from bad to worse. He protected to the wrong side, I believe, going up into Rocket. The crowd watch on as we see them wait for them to come out of Siemens and up the hill. Charlie Lower got protected lead, and this is the best thing that can happen to his championship, because Jeff Newman is behind Mark Kendall. He's going to look to the outside of the hairpin for this last time. Thea Theato is in that second place. What a result that would be if he can hold on. Mark Jones has managed to make it through into third place. Kendall, though, has managed to make it past Jeff Newman, and therefore Jeff Newman is going to be not disastrous for his championship, but it's certainly going to take away some of his protection. Thea Theato protecting down the inside from Mark Jones, who just sees whether he can hold on. I think Mark's going to be happy to hold on to that third. So it is going to be Charlie Lower who takes that win over Thea Theato, Jones and Kendall, and then it's Newman, followed by Cook, who did make it past a Rook. So Banton also dropping into 8th place late on. Janaszewski comes across the line. Headley, Noakes and Roebuck, Moon and Williams Clark we see going through as well. So Charlie Lower taking that victory, and looks like a very happy Thea Theato in the McCat car. Is very happy. He's put his car back together after an accident earlier in the year, and would be very happy with that result. And I think Cook as well with 6th place. Like I said, he was looking for those extra places, and I think he's done the best job of getting them back. But Charlie Lower takes that victory, and it is Kendall even took the fastest lap away from Newman, so double disappointment there for Newman. But yeah, Charlie Lower, but he needed that in his championship, and he's got it. So for us as a spectator, that's a great result for the championship as we head into the second half of the season. Theato is in 2nd place, and Mark Jones, after a tricky start to the year, it has to be said, he is in at 3rd place. So here is confirmation then of the provisional results. Charlie Lower takes the win over Theo Theato in 2nd, and Mark Jones in 3rd place. Kendall takes that 4th place, just ahead of Jeff Newman. Disappointed he will be in 5th. James Cook is in 6th. David Rook is in 7th. Banton takes 8th. Janaszewski 9th. And Benja Headley rounds out the top 10. Good result for him coming out from the field. 11th Noakes. 12th was Roebuck. James Moon is in 13th. Mark Williams 14th. Philip Clark 15th. He will be disappointed with himself after that incident in the hairpin. Paul Castle, Joe Priday, Freddie Chiddick's down in 18th. William Jones and Simon Patel round out the top 20. Neil Perry, Chris Roberts, Louise Deason dropping to 23rd. Oh no, it's a shame for her in the latter part of that race. Alan Bateman 24th, Ian Summers 25th, and then it's Vincent Radford and Ainscoe. Radford and Ainscoe were the two we saw in having an interview halfway through with a disappointing end to both their races. So a first race for Caterham Roadsport is in the can, and an eventful one as it always is, isn't it? Great result for Charlie Lower there, and yeah, he will be happy as punch, I'm sure, when we get to speak to him in a little bit. But Thea Theato as well, from a pole position to line up and finish in that 2nd place. What a great result for him from his season so far. And Mark Jones, another good drive for him as he takes a strong second half of this season through.
Okay, I'm next to him.
You can see that Sam is getting ready to chat to our drivers. You can see, yeah, so getting ready to chat. So yeah, let's go down to Sam then, and let's hear from Charlie Lower, our winner.
Yes, congratulations, Charlie.
Very much.
Back on the top step, and good points.
Yeah, it feels good to be back up here, but no, what a wicked race. But yeah, the conditions were really tricky because it was super hot. Like the conditions from quali, it was just like ice in comparison. So yeah, it was good to get through alive, really.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, Charlie. I'll move on to Theo now, who I know is very happy to be here.
Well done, sir. Brilliant. Yeah, dude.
Congratulations, Theo.
Well done, mate. Well done. Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Oh, God. Hey, Sam, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm brilliant. Got a new car, well, kind of, rebuilt from Donny after the crash. So it's good to be on pole. I screwed it on, so I messed up on Rocket, first turn 4. Went wide, I was following him, but otherwise I probably could have stayed in the lead a bit, but it was a good race. Safety car, obviously, with Julian. Hope he's okay. Car looks a bit mangled, and it's hot. But I'm glad, second, man, that's awesome. And I'll tell you what I put it down to. The comfiness of Andrew Bentley's seats, not Darren Burt's coaching.
Thank you, Theo. Right, let's move on to Mark quickly. Mark, don't go anywhere. Congratulations. You've got the pace this second half of the season, haven't you?
Yeah, it's slowly coming along again, but unfortunately this heat isn't doing me much good. But that was intense. But yeah, it was good, clean racing. So got a nice little lunge on Mark through Rocket, and then unfortunately for Jeff, he made a mistake, and me and Theo got through. So yeah, it was a good race.
Happy days.
Yeah.
But congratulations, Mark. Right, I'll hand back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, got some race highlights quickly for you. And you can see there's the initial start that we had, and Charlie Lower initially took that lead ahead of the Fiato, but they both outbraked themselves up into turn 1. Both went off wide, but somehow managed to get it all back together without causing too much of a kerfuffle. Had a bit of contact, didn't we, up there? The number 84 getting just touching the barriers, but actually not too bad. And we did see Philip Clark there taking into Freddie Chiddicks, and then a little bit further back saw Rocco Ainscoe very late on the brakes, and then Ray Radford even later, and they had significant contact, and that's what caused our safety car. Jeff Newman squeezed his way back through into the lead. He led quite late on in this race for a little portion of it after the safety car, but then after a little bit of I would say a wrong decision at the top of the hill, he lost out to Charlie Lower, and then also lost out a little bit further back to the rest of them as he tried to recover it back to the top of the field. Charlie Lower, though, was able to protect and take that nice, fairly comfortable win. Let's give it that. It's all brilliant. It was a great race for the road sports, but we've already got the 310s on the grid. This is no longer a replay. This is the actual 310 race all lined up. They've got a field of 35 cars with this weekend. A significant number of Caterhams to head around this Anglesey. You can see that they're having to start around the corner of this track. As we look out over the Snowdonia Park, and the green flag already being shown to our drivers then as they are lined up around that corner. Pete Walters comes into here quite comfortably in the championship lead, although he is further down the starting order. He starts 8th with us today. They've been given that 60-second board. They'll soon be sent off onto their green flag lap. So Pete Walters is going to have to come back through the field, and it's Harry Cook that starts on our pole position. With some other good names. It's the front of the field is, as ever, in this 4th step of the Caterham Motorsport ladder, the Caterham 7310R Championship, and it's a Motul sponsored series, this one. Always very highly rated. So Harry Cook starts on pole position ahead of McConaughey in the 2nd place, so that's a great result for him. David Yates will be pleased to be back up there 3rd place ahead of James Wingfield. Harry George starts 5th, Alan Cooper 6th, Jack Sells 7th, Pete Walters is in 8th. Lopez Appleton 9th, Hoffman is in 10th. We've got Baldwin 11th and Wes Payne 12th. We've got Jeff Price starting 13th, Henry Williams 14th, Angus McLean 15th, and Alan Curtis starts in 16th. Tom Cockrell down in 17th, Cresswell 18th, Smith 19th, and Kevin Cooper starts 20th. Dave Morgan is 21st, Curley 22nd. We've got Fraser Jones and Stephen Metcalf starts 24th. Carl Jones, Clay Fan, Tim Steele, and Albons round out 28th. We've got Harry Eyre, Roger Gaunt, Peter Wales, and Duncan Cook taking 32nd. And then we've got Welch, Herndine, and Martin Gleisch finishes or starts this race in 35th. So 35 starters today in the 310R Championship racing. First of 2 30-minute races for them this weekend. See the cars all coming around this complex at the top end of the circuit. Still the evening sun absolutely immaculate. This track is looking brilliant out there today. As you can hear from our drivers, though, the hot temperatures make it feel like ice. We saw some drivers out braking themselves in our road sport races, as well as our Championship UK race a little earlier on. And it is that temperature that causes those tyres to becomes squishy and squidgy, and you don't give that grip, that ideal grip. Their tyres much prefer cooler temperature, because you can be sure if the ambient temperature's around 30, then the track temperature's maybe even 20 degrees higher than that on this tarmac on this Irish sea coast, North Wales Peninsula. What a fantastic sight, this 310R grid. They have given us some fantastic races this year. As I say, Pete Walters has won 5 or 6 races this year. 5 races he's won this season already. Harry George is up there though in 5th place on the grid, and he's also taken a win this season. Other people who have taken a win, Jack Sales has taken a win as well, and he starts in 7th place. So all the normal kind of contenders. James Wingfield is another one. He starts in 4th place, so he's also taken that win. So our sort of highest winner is James Wingfield, and he comes into this in about 5th place in the championship as we start this weekend. But he's got a couple of drop scores that are impacting his position at the moment, so he will become even more into effect as the season progresses into the latter stages and we start taking into account those drop scores. So who is going to make a great start? Harry Cook on that pole position. I think that might be his first pole position in this 310R. So that's a great result for him, and I'm sure he'll be looking to see whether he can solidify that. McConaughey will also be pleased in that 2nd place. He's had a bit of a rock and roll up and down season so far, not necessarily had the results that he gets used to. He's very used to winning in Caterhams, so he'll be like to get back into winning ways. Green flag at the back means they will be getting the 5-second board though, and here we go with the start of the 310R race, the first of their 2 30-minute races they'll have. Off they go then, the lights are out and the field makes a good and even start. I can't see any overlaps. One car did look like it potentially had stalled there at the back. Looked like he got slow away, but the rest of the field also now are away, and it looks like McConaughey has made the best of that start. Wingfield's come through ahead of Cook, who is now dropping to that 3rd place, and David Yates looks like he's ready to take the next opportunity that, and it's also Alan Cooper who's up there, and Alan Cooper has had some bad luck this season, but he will be looking to see whether he can make a better fist of this race. He's certainly not been responsible for all the luck he's had this season so far, and he is definitely one who is keen to be up there in that lead group battling with this pack. There is his dad, Kevin Cooper, in that 2nd blue car. But as McConaughey does take that win, we've got a bit of a traffic jam. Lots of cars on the grass. That's going to make it uncomfortable as they come down into this hairpin. There was a little bit of a traffic jam as they all had to get themselves stopped up into Rocket that time. They haven't managed just about to sort themselves out, but that really is a big pinch point, especially in these early laps, where we saw the drivers and cars at Donington often spread out or rather clumped together into their sort of big trains of cars. I think with Anglesey we will start seeing them spread a little bit, and we've seen that in the earlier races as well. So it's normally only the first opening couple of laps we're going to see that kind of traffic jam situation, and they did all manage. The drivers' experience level in this championship is high enough that they did all manage to sort themselves out in what was an extremely complicated situation there. But McConaughey has made the best start, and we have seen him in the past, if he gets these good starts, disappear off down the field if he gets the opportunity, and he'll certainly be looking to do that. The rest of this 35 car field still wobbling over who goes where. Looks like that's Glenn Clayfan in the number 73 as he goes on round in that latter part of the field. We have got a nose cone stuck up there. I wonder whether that is up at Rocket where we saw that impact, and hopefully whoever's nose cone that is won't have punctured their radiator and be leaking fluid everywhere. That's certainly not what the drivers want at this stage of the race as they head round through Church, which on a really good day maybe just about near flat out, but certainly not today. They'll have to take a good old lift of the throttle to get the car turned in and tucked so they don't drop off wide onto the grass on the exit. It's one of those pieces of the grass that once you get on it, it's really difficult. You're carrying so much speed, it's really difficult to get rid of that speed. We've got more of a traffic jam. Jack Sales there just a little bit wide. We've got Hoffman now arguing with him. And there's Walters, who is now the championship leader, and he's right back up there. So he's made good progress through from where he started in 8th on the grid to now make it through onto the tail of James Wingfield as they head on around Peel. Plenty of time and action. There is that. It's Carl Jones's car that the nose cone has been removed from it. So it looks like that car is currently unaffected by its lack of nose cone. McConaughey, though, leads ahead of Cook, who after an unsettled start where he lost out a couple of places, it looks like these two could pair up. So it's on the exit of the hairpin that that nose cone is there. Some of them having to duck away a little bit. Wonder whether the marshals this time through, depends on the spread of the field as to whether the marshals will get an opportunity to go and pick that up. But at this stage, it's not impacting the racing line. David Yates looking around the outside of James Wingfield, going through the bus stop, having to take to the grass there to try and make that happen. It didn't complete. He's looking like he's one of the ones to have lost a wing somewhere through that process. So yeah, around the outside of the bus stop is not a commonplace, and I think that's cost him a lot more than potentially it's gained. Then cars funneling through into this banking corner. It's called banking because of the banked nature of that track, and also the spectators are all up there watching down into that turn. It's lots of hairpins at this Anglesey Circuit to encourage plenty of action, especially in Caterham's. Caterham's overtaken the most unlikely of places anyway, let alone more likely corners like that. Ben Lopez-Appleton using a bit of the grass there to try and make that move around Pete Walters. Pete Walters, there's a yellow flag at the top of the hill as we go into the hairpin here. I can't see why that is. There's no safety car being shown, so I wonder whether someone's off at the bottom of the hill. They're just out of camera shot at the moment. But anyway, meant that Pete Walters had to give back that place to Ben Lopez-Appleton, who's drifted wide out of PLO, and it looks like he might well lose that position as they come down the hill here and into the left-hander off camber corner of Siemens. I understand, though, that we've actually got Dan Clayfan down talking to Sam Parker in the pit, so that's not a good start to his race.
No. Yes, I've got Dan. Sorry, the marshal's just interrupted to talk to him, but Dan, can we just have a quick word?
Yes,
talk us through what happened.
So I was coming up towards Rocket, and I was going up the inside of someone, and I took both pedals, so I was on braking the accelerator and just flipped into the back of another guy, and that split the radiator. So it ended what was, I was making progress, you know, but hey ho, these things happen. The other guys continued on, so it hasn't impeded him, but it's ended my race.
Oh, so, shame.
Early shout. Tomorrow, absolutely.
Thank you, Dan.
No way, thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Dan, for that feedback, and yeah, shame to see him out the race so early, and like you said, it's so easy to do in this narrow pedal box you have in a Caterham car. It is easy to clip the accelerator and the brake, and also necessary with all the noise around you, not necessarily notice it, as Cook looks like he's going to make a move for that lead. Running out of room there, Harry George, David Yates and Alan Cooper all squabbling over a bit of tarmac that was disappearing as it was going around the left-hander. McConaughey is going to lose out that position, though, to Cook, so Cook from that pole position, showing that he has got the pace in that car, and it is the lead two from our qualifying that are out in front, but it is Pete Walters from 8th on the grid who is now into that 3rd place. I wonder whether Walters had a complicated qualifying where he didn't quite get the lap he wanted out of it, but it certainly looks like now that we're in race conditions he's ready to go. Jack Sales dropped a little bit back there to 9th place, and the rest of this field all flowing through as we look back into the hairpin again. This is lap number 4. We are on to 3 laps already in the books. We've got a 1:40 by Baldwin, so the fastest lap of the race so far is quite deep in the field. Looks like that nose cone is going to be left on the track for the time being, just as they all know it's there. They certainly want to make a contact with it, but it's off the racing lap sufficiently, and also potentially wind from the cars as they blow on through might well move it further to the side. Good battle going on here, though, with Harry George, and there's Ben Lopez-Appleton and James Wingfield. Ben Lopez-Appleton's been involved in a lot of battles this season, and always keen to get involved in them. Quite often includes a bit of track, and he's got all his wings there so far. But James Wingfield is part of this championship battle, so he will be more keen to make sure that his race is unaffected by other people around him. You remember, where you finish for this first race, you have to start the race tomorrow, so you certainly don't want a bad result today. It's better to get not take that last of the late breakers chance if you can, but McConaughey holds that lead at the moment. You can see from that angle the bump that they go over, and it just uses a bit of the gravel on the inside. David Yates looking down the inside of Hoffman, who just had a bit of contact there, so Hoffman did not leave Yates. Yates was right down the inside of Hoffman. It looked like a little bit of just a marginal contact between the two cars. They got locked together, and as soon as that happens they get stuck, and it's really difficult to separate them, and that's what happened. So as soon as that one little bit of contact there between David Yates and Hoffman, who I think David Yates will feel he was sufficiently alongside that he is entitled to that space, and it did look like Hoffman came across, but it's hard from the angle that we're sitting in this commentary box to actually tell exactly what went on there. And there's Alan Cooper up the inside of Jack Sales, number 71 car, Alan Cooper. And Jack Sales there, a little replay then. So David Yates has got the overlap down the inside. He's on a bit of that curb. He doesn't look like, it's hard to tell from this angle, it didn't look like he came sufficiently away from the curbing to cause an issue, but equally it's probably half a dozen of one and half a dozen of the other. So yeah, we'll say that's a racing incident for this for the time being. But McConaughey is back in front of Cook then as we come through the first 10 minutes of this race. And then behind them we've got Walters and Harry George all coming with them, and then Ben Lopez-Appleton, so he's been in really kind of fighty and feisty mode, but that's dropped him away from the rear of the battle for that top, for the podium paying positions, which all look like they're coming back together, don't they? McConaughey and Cook at one point look like they might be able to spring a bit of a gap, but now it's looking like that is all coming back together. And just to signify that, Harry George has now taken that fastest lap, you can see on the screen there, 39.7. So he is the man on the move right now. We haven't got a 310R lap record to go back to because the last time we were here in 2016, the 310R Championship did not exist yet, and it was called Supersport, and it was a different spec to the one that we've got now. So whoever sets the fastest lap today or tomorrow, combined, whichever one is the faster racing lap that we have, they will be setting the new lap record around this Anglesey International Circuit in the 310R class. See Hoffman and Yates there now deep in the field, coming through in 20th and 21st. So rather than battling for that podium, now they are battling for deep in the 20th position, and they'll be seeing how far up through the field they can make. Remember, I said that they're starting tomorrow's races from wherever they finish today, so the more progress they can make, the better. Jack Sales there having to protect a little bit from James Wingfield, who's also having to protect a little bit from Alan Cooper, who's lost out on that lap time through. You can see also his exhaust has got a bit of a dent in it. It can cause a little bit of back pressure. It doesn't look like it's a significant enough problem for that at this stage. But McConaughey is still in the lead in his white number 34 car, ahead of Cook in the black number 9 car. Walters follows in the black and white number 88 car, followed by Harry George in the 17. We did mention, or Harry George has had a great run through the season so far. Has had a couple of penalties to deal with, but nevertheless he's also had wins under his belt in his first inaugural season, and he was in the academy last year. Skipped all the way up as we see the battle for the lead now going up into Rocket then. Cook on the inside. McConaughey's going to see whether he can hang around the outside. The outside turns into the inside. So where we saw that working for James Murphy in the 7 UK cars, not working quite as well there on the ZZS tyres in these temperatures. Maybe the tyres just too hot to make that move stick, or maybe it's just too early in this race to really push the issue at this stage. Certainly there'll be a bit of management going on. There's a lot of tyre rub going on now for James Wingfield. We've seen that before for him, and that is Alan Cooper just behind him. So that's not going to be a good thing in this hot temperatures as well. With the softer tyres, it means that that will get eaten into by that rear wing. So you're going to hope that that rub stops fairly quickly for him. Certainly also causes friction, which slow you down these long straights, and definitely need the momentum around this Anglesey circuit. You can see in that middle ground, Ben Lopez-Appleton is currently having to protect himself. Jack Sales and TN Accountancy car tucks up the inside, looking up the inside as they go into the bus stop, and a bit further back we've got Wes Payne going inside, looking down, see whether he can get through Alan Cooper. James Wingfield is starting to lose out now after his tyre rub has developed, and he's got Alan Curtis in the Fiberglass Services Design Display Structures sponsored car just behind him. Yeah, that tyre rub really is quite significant at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a puncture on that right rear, if not, if lucky to get away. You can see the marks that the the wing is causing on that car for him. The lead group though, Harry Cook out in front of Blair McConaughey, who is in front of Walters, and then Harry George side by side still for that middle ground battle. As we look a bit further back to see Baldwin in that car leading this little group now. Side by side for the lead once more. McConaughey at the inside is now going to be in front of Cook, and Walters is going to be at the inside of Peel as they go round. It's a tricky corner to manage, especially in this heat. Up here it's really hot on the tarmac, and the tyres really do not want to turn around that corner. Jack Sales has made it in front of Ben Lopez-Appleton, and Baldwin currently leads Alan Cooper, who's dropped back a little bit from that early action. We saw he had a little bit of a missing a wing as well, or tyre rub earlier, so he'll be looking to make that better. But Walters Is that Walters? It's not. It's still Cook. Still, no, it is Walters into that second place then, ahead of Cook, who is now having to protect from Harry George behind him. So Cook could have gone from the lead back down to 4th by the time we get to the end of this lap. Although Blair McConaughey having to defend to the inside there. He's got a compromised line as we go into the bus stop. It's not going to help his line as they go, and coming down to this halfway mark of this race. Does manage to protect just about. No, he doesn't. Walters does get the run up the inside as they go into turn 1. Another corner which is don't normally brake for, but you certainly have to lift off. The pit corner really pinches in on you on the outside, on the exit. But Walters managed to carry and get an overlap by the time they reached that corner, and therefore was able to get through. Walters then taking from 8th place on the grid, taking the lead, using absolutely every inch of this circuit available on the outside there to carry the maximum speed through Church, not having to use the exit. But McConaughey is tucked to the inside. We saw that work well for Charlie Lower in the Roadsport race. It looks like that has worked for him in this race as well. So in these different sort of conditions, different car types, the inside or the outside is working better or worse for different people. But that's Pete Walters now into that 2nd place. Harry George in 3rd, and now Cook has fallen down into that 4th place by the time we get one more lap into the books. A little bit of a gap then back to Sales, but Sales has pulled away from Ben Lopez-Appleton. So Lopez-Appleton is in sort of clear air ahead of the following battles. There's Tom Cockrell, who we saw earlier in the year, really was up there with this lead battle, but has since faded just a touch. Currently run 12th as he was across the line last time through. So not necessarily having the tail end of the season he wants so far, and he'll be looking to see whether he can recreate some of the earlier success. Another driver that skipped a step to come up into the 310R Championship. He was previously racing, well, his friends or his comrades were racing now in the 270R Championship, so choosing to take a step up and struggling a little bit in these mid-phase of the racing. There is Jones. With his thing. I understand that James Wingfield is down with Sam though, so obviously that tyre rub has just proved terminal.
Yes, it is terminal. James, tell us what happened.
Yeah, a good start of the race out there. Close, hard-fought racing as always. I sort of shuffled back a little bit, but keeping an eye on the tyre temperatures and looking after things. Unfortunately, I had a couple of incidents from the back, a little nudge, and then someone else has hit the wheel arch. It's folded in on itself. And it's just destroying the tyre, and the straight line speed is all gone because of the rubbing. So I was just going backwards in the pack, which is pretty much race over in a tight race like a Caterham 310. So yeah, sadly that's it for this race. I guess we'll fix it up and come back again for tomorrow.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much, James.
Yep, so back to the racing then, which is as frantic as ever. Here's McConaughey trying to protect now, looking like Harry George up the inside of the number 88 of Walters. So George looking to make a move forward. There's Mark Williams and Wes Payne going at it with Tom Cockrell. There was a little bit of that battle which you're seeing. So Wes Payne in that pearlescent car. But McConaughey currently leads out front, and is that the 88? It is the 88 of Pete Walters, who's now in front of this battle for 3rd place. So the battle keeps sort of maneuvering positions. Harry George was left enough room there just, but Jack Sales is coming quite comfortably across the gap to them, isn't he? And he's had a fantastic end after a tricky start to the season where he didn't quite have enough power in his car. They found an issue, got it solved, and since the latter part of this race, he's had a win and some really good solid top end results, and it looks like this one he could well come and figure by the end of this race. Certainly got the magnets onto the rear of Harry George's car at the moment. It's Blair McConaughey leading them round the banking then. Here's Ben Lopez-Appleton, and that's Alan Cooper after early being involved in the lead group. Dropped away a little bit. Baldwin is now dropped behind him, so Cooper making some more forward progress. He said earlier that he is normally used to being in the front group and he will try and fight his way back there, but he's had an action-packed season so far, including a big gravelly visit at Donington Park last time out. But then we've got Harry George around the outside of Harry Cook and makes it stick that time, so that was a good move. So the outside move can work for the 310 depending on the momentum. Jack Sales though nearly across that gap. He spent nearly the whole race trying to get through a couple of cars, which he successfully did. Jack Sales, a very experienced driver. There's the Ben Lopez-Appleton, Alan Cooper battle, which is now starting to really get going. as the leaders come out of Siemens. Zach Sales, an extremely experienced driver there in the white car with the green roll cage. We just watched that battle for third place, and Harry George protects it for now. He has actually raced all the way up through the different championships, including getting 2 third places in the 420R championship, as it was then. So the top flight of Caterham Motorsport, someone knows how to pedal a Caterham, also has some good karting background and experience at an international level as well. Ben Lopez-Appleton, though, able to protect on the outside there from Alan Cooper. Baldwin following on from him. We've got the Jones, Cockrell, Wes Payne, Alan Curtis all coming through. There's David Yates on his fight back through. Made it to 15th, and Hoffman is just behind him as well. So, again, those drivers having to try and make a recovery drive, and they were down in 20th, so made up 5 places. Still got 11 minutes to see whether they can make up more places and maybe get themselves back towards that top 10. Gets harder the higher up you go through the order. McConaughey using all the limit of the curb on the exit there that time through. It looks like we will have a move for the lead then. Walters trying around the outside of the approach to Rocket, which turns the inside corner. He's managed to be late on the brakes and manages to tuck across the front of him. We've got number 3 car spinning out there. That's Allbones spinning to the inside of the track. And that sort of Lotus livery colours have just got on the throttle just a touch too early, as he had to spin again to the inside. That's a shame for him, but it's the not the first time we've seen him spinning onto grass this season, so he will be again now getting more used to that rejoining. But a great looking car there, number 3. He joins back into the race, and off he goes as the lead battle comes around and up into, it looks like Pete Walters trying to throw the toe now already. He's got that tiny bit of a gap there, and with Harry George fighting Cook and now Jack Sales fully involved in that battle, Pete Walters is wise enough to know that if he can throw the toe a little bit, he may well be able to disappear off into the distance in this last 10 minutes. Remember, he's won 5 of the opening 8 rounds, so definitely the man in the championship charge. Harry George has managed to win a race, but McConaughey has not. 3rd place, couple of podiums for McConaughey so far this season, so he's currently in his best points paying position that he's had, but can he hold on with these hungry cars behind him? Pete Walters, that didn't get anywhere, did it? The gap has evaporated as quickly as it appeared, and it is this top 5 now, significantly clear of when it will be Ben Lopez-Appleton. In fact, it's Alan Cooper who was across the line first last time through, so Cooper is in that middle ground. With 9 minutes to go, I don't think he's got enough time to make up that 4 seconds given the pace of this lead group. Harry George does currently have that fastest lap and lap record as McConaughey takes back to the lead, chops across, returns the nose chop that Walters gave to him on that previous lap, and succeeds in doing so, so he will take that lead now. Harry George in that 3rd place. Cook and Sales there in 5th. Cooper is in that 6th place still the last time we saw him. There is the Jones with the missing nose cone. We've got Hoffman, Price and Yates. So Hoffman has made a couple of places and moved ahead of Yates as well in that last time through. So that's the number 70 of Hoffman. The leaders come through with McConaughey now in the lead group. Jack Sales looking to see whether he can move up from that 5th. He's sort of speculative look round the outside to see then whether he can tuck up the inside, but the inside of this turns to the outside of the next corner, so it's just a matter of getting in that toe and sitting there until you have to either move out or just ease off the throttle to sit back in the queue again. Walters late and well, wide, frankly, in that corner. Managed to make the best of it on the exit, though, so a little bit of a later apex, but Harry George did have the opportunity to see that. Looks like it's one of the cars, 75, a bit too low down in my order to see who that is at the moment, but spinning and recovering back into the field nonetheless. 8 minutes of this race still to go. The order is pretty much as it has been for most of the race. Obviously they've been shuffling themselves a little bit. Cooper is coming quickly across that gap. Let's see whether let's see what that is. He's looks like his transponder's pinged out because I can't see him on the timing screen, but nevertheless he is coming across that gap quite rapidly. You will see him coming up next in the field of view. Just as we cut away there, you can see him just coming in the background. So maybe he's got an opportunity to come across that gap. McConaughey having to defend heavily from Harry George there. Harry George in the Alpha sponsored car there. McConaughey in the white and black car that we can see. Harry George still got an overlap. That's Wes Payne spun at the top of the hill as he heads down, I think, towards Seaman. So Wes Payne, yeah, that was at Rocket. More bodywork there in the track, actually, so something to keep an eye out for. McConaughey still having to defend now from Cook, who's got to run around the outside of Harry George, who's late on the brakes. McConaughey allows him to be late on the brakes and gives himself that width of car, but they are now side by side as they head on down to the bus stop. Is this Walters' opportunity to Scarpa? He's certainly looking like and feeling like he wants to, but McConaughey managed to protect and defend that situation quite nicely. Again, a little bit wide as they go into bus stop. I think these tyres really are starting to come off. That's David Yates in the number 15 car. He is now going to be out of this race, I believe. So whatever his maladies are, he started 3rd place, I believe. But that is the end of his race this weekend. We'll see him again tomorrow, though. But he will have to start from the rear of the field. You can see his car down the inside or the outside there of Church Corner. The car's just going by him now. So there will be yellow corner cars, yellow flags by Church this time through. 6 minutes to go. Pete Walters sprung a little bit of a gap, and there is still movement happening behind in these chasing drivers. So they may well be able to, he might well be able to sustain that as we've got side by side Baldwin and Ben Lopez Appleton. Baldwin now moves ahead of Ben Lopez Appleton, who had some early manoeuvres to make, didn't he? But he's drifted back a little bit since that time. Head up here then. McConaughey now ahead of Jack Sales. So Harry George has moved ahead and Jack Sales has moved ahead of Harry Cook. So everything is spreading out nicely for the grid here. And you can see the number 77, Kevin Cooper chasing this little group of cars back down. Angus McLean there in the PT-sponsored car in number 61. Oliver Smith there, you can see also in the 97 car. Great to see the battles happening all the way down in front of this spectacular scenery here at Anglesey Circuit. Pete Walters, though, that gap has evaporated. Harry George has come straight back across to him. Another wing goes flying. Jack Sales on the inside, Harry Cook on the outside. They're really holding his ground, though. Jack Sales giving him that room to have the exit there. Jack Sales managing to protect that corner as they go on up and through. And there is Allbones again. Looks like he's had a spin down at the bottom of the hill. And there's Welch and Gleish who are following on. Side by side, though, in that lead group. Jack Sales in the number 35 TN Accountancy alongside that the Cook car. Having to drop back, it looks like now. There was a side-by-side through Church's Brave, and Jack Sales had to back out of that. Little bit of a spin there from replay. So that is the replay of Allbones as he span out the bottom end of the circuit all alone as he rejoins back in again. Another eventful race for him. Let's hope he gets a good fist of it tomorrow. Harry George, though, has now taken the lead of this race for the first time then. 3 minutes, 4 minutes to go. Has he timed this perfectly? Has he been sitting there waiting for his tyres to come to him and let everyone else's tyres drop off? Looked a couple of laps ago like Pete Walters would have disappeared off into the distance, but that's not happened. Not been the case at all. Battles here further down then. We've seen that last time through. Kevin Cooper. There's Jeff Price just off up in front as well there. But Harry George is still in the lead of this race with 3.5 minutes to go. McConaughey, great bit of opportunistic late brakes and managed to get it all stopped without locking a tyre. Knew that Pete Walters was a bit compromised by Harry George in front of him. Now McConaughey looking to the outside of the bus stop. That's not going to work. We're certainly not a traditional working place. Is he going to make that work around the outside? You can't do that, Blair. He does make it stick around the outside. What a spectacular move. Yeah, I think it was not defended because it's not a normal thing. And Harry George now around the outside as they go into turn one. The amping it up of this intensity has happened in this last lap, and just as he try and make it through, Blair McConaughey, the rear of his car, is crying foul as he pushes those tyres all the way through. Harry Cook also on the absolute limit, and there is Kevin Cooper. He has made it across that 5-second gap then to join this group, and he currently has the fastest lap of the race on a 38.7, and that is also the lap record at this point. Dust is on the inside of the track there where cars have been throwing it up on the inside as they just try to protect and make sure there's no room for anyone to use, and he is around the outside as we go up into Rocket. That's going to work for him this time through. Harry George, got to be careful that Pete Walters doesn't stick it up the inside, which he did. He just had enough time to really come across the nose cone of Pete Walters, who really had to get on the brakes and be aware that that was going to happen to him. But Jack Sales now finds himself in that 4th place, and he's leaving Kevin Cooper to fight with Cook there in that for 4th and 5th place. Alan Curtis there just now ahead of Jones, who you can see the lack of nose cone there. He's just losing out a little bit of pace, I think, because we have seen him slowly drop through the field. And this is that Appleton, Ben Lopez Appleton and Baldwin fight as well happening still, you know, almost been raced long, hasn't it, with 1 minute 38 of this race to go. They are going to come down there. There's slippery surface flags for that bodywork that's on the inside of the track there. We are, though, going to be starting the last lap of this first Motul sponsored Caterham 310R Championship race, the first 30-minute race for them this weekend, with another one they've got tomorrow. And Harry George leads them out onto that final lap and takes the best lap, I think. Maybe Cooper's fastest lap that was showing on the scoreboard has been taken away, so whether there was track limits that have taken that lap away, because Harry George now holds that fastest with 1:39.4. And you can see the rest of the field still going side by side. Last lap, as I said, Pete Walters is pushed onto the grass or runs out of space on the exit, and it's really difficult to get the car back. Unfortunately, that means he is going to be out of the contention for the win this time through after what was a good result. He had moved all the way up from 8th to the lead of this race. Harry George leads that ahead of Blair McConaughey. Jack Sales finds himself in 3rd place, but there's Harry Cook looking around the inside, down the inside of Cooper. Cooper is now having to try and get back at Cook there. Cook into that 4th place. So Pete Walters, you could see him hit the steering wheel there with his hand. I think he was disappointed. I don't know whether he was pushed. It's certainly not something you'd see Pete Walters do necessarily on his own, so I wonder whether he was a bit squeezed out there at the exit of Church. There's not a lot of room for more than one car to be in the area of the track that they were in. Jack Sales having to defend heavily up the inside, and then Cook looking to the outside then. Jack Sales late on the brakes, manages to hold that track and hold position just behind Blair McConaughey's in that 2nd place. It does look like, though, Harry George has got a bit of a comfortable gap now as they head into the final corner. Still the slippery surfaces flag. Jack Sales having to protect a touch on the inside there. Lopez Appleton looking around the outside. We've seen it work. It can work before. Can Jack Sales protect over the line? It looks like that is going to happen. Jack Sales does take that 3rd place over Cook and Walters, but it's Harry George that takes the win there ahead of McConaughey, Sales, Cook, Walters, Baldwin and Lopez Appleton, their race 1 battle. And then it's Cockerell, Williams and Hoffman. And we can see here the battles coming in with Price Smith, McLean Cooper going across the line as we watch the checkered flag and watch those midfield battles coming across. So Harry George then, another win. I think that's his 2nd this season. He's always been hungry for those wins, but he's managed to make them happen regularly, and including podiums. So great for him in his Alpha sponsored car, also taking that fastest lap, so he gets an extra point for that. Comes in here 2nd place in the championship, so that's going to solidify his result, especially with Pete Walters now ending up down in the 6th place position. So going to be pulling himself back a few points, all subject to stewards' inquiries. Obviously, we still only on the provisional sort of status of results at this stage, but McConaughey taking that 2nd place. So let's have a confirmation then of the results. Harry George takes that victory over Blair McConaughey in 2nd place. Jack Sales takes the 3rd place podium, another great result for him. Harry Cook 4th, Alan Cooper turns in 5th, Walters 6th, Baldwin, Lopez Appleton, Cockerell and Henry Williams round out the top 10. We've got Hoffman, Carl Jones, Curtis, Price, Smith, Angus McLean, Kevin Cooper, Metcalf, Wes Payne and Harry Eyre rounding out the top 20. And then we've got Morgan in 21st, Creswell, Fraser Jones, Roger Gaunt, Curley, Tim Steele, Duncan Cook, Nick Allbones, Martin Gleisch and Chris Welch ends in 30th. And then we've got Herndine, the final sort of finisher, Pete Wales, David Yates, Wingfield and Clayfan all losing out at various times and out of the results. But Harry George taking a victory over McConaughey and Jack Sales. Jack Sales will be delighted, I'm sure. A real patient race for him as they went through that. Just waiting for our drivers to appear in the Parc Fermé area, where they won't be able to touch their cars, but they will be given their drink of water, much deserved after 30 minutes. So we've only had 20-minute races so far, but 30 minutes for these guys today, and we've got one more 30-minute race of the 270Rs to come after this one. But they will certainly be ready for a drink of water, I am absolutely sure of that. But there is Harry George extracting himself from his car. His nice sponsored race top there. Harry George Racing festooned logos as well. And you can see that Sam's down there ready to talk to him. So let's hear how Harry got on in that race. I'm sure he's going to be pretty happy.
Yes, congratulations, Harry. Got the fastest lap as well.
Oh, really? Yep. Oh, perfect result then. Blimey. Wow, yeah. Unbelievable. Oh, it was chaos, absolute chaos. It was about 20 minutes in, you really started to feel the heat, and it was like, oh God, I kept looking at the time, when's it going to be over? But no, over the moon. Couldn't wish for any more.
Excellent, congratulations. Let you take some water now. Blair, congratulations on second place. That was quite a race for you, wasn't it?
It was quite exciting. I got off to a good start. I thought we'd actually break away from the pack. I think we did for a little bit. And then maybe a couple of small mistakes from me, and then I think it was Harry Cook who was chasing me down. And then once he caught up, when we were fighting, everyone else caught up, and yeah, I think it must have felt like felt about an hour race, you know, just with the heat and the intensity. But yeah, a little bit annoyed at myself for the mistakes at the end that robbed me of a chance of trying to get Harry in the final hairpin. But overall, very good race.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Blair. Let's move on to Jack Sales now in third place. Jack, congratulations. Was the third place what you were expecting, or a podium?
Not really. No, I mean, qualifying was okay, 7th, and then missed a gear on the start, so I went back to, I don't know, 10th, 12th or something. Yeah, just picked my way through. Sort of waited for people to crash into each other and picked up the pieces, and yeah, no, it's great. Just really, really warm.
Well, congratulations, Jack.
Yeah, so let's get some highlights of that 310R race while we wait for the next Caterham action here. Let's have a look at the start then. So it was a good start all round as far as even across the field. But it was Blair McConaughey around the outside who made that work for him early in this race. You can see that David Yates around the outside there went across the grass in an uncomfortable, bumpy ride. And then there's a bit of contact between Yates and Hoffman, which after early on looking like it was going to be a good race for those, they were deep in the field and David Yates would pull out later out of the race completely. Harry George, though, having to make his way up through the field just a touch, wasn't he? He was a bit 4th or 5th at the beginning, and it was Cook but McConaughey who are sort of sharing the lead, with Walters just watching them for a bit. They did look like they might spring a gap, but they didn't make it stick in the end. And Walters did eventually make it through to the lead of the pack, and again he looked like he might break away. But Jack Sales joined the party towards the end of the race, and it was this battle here between McConaughey and Walters. It's all these 4 or 5 cars always fully involved in the action as we went on through. That was Hoffman there right on the grass on the exit. I don't think we saw that during live pictures, but what an exciting moment. There's the Wes Payne spin at the top of the hill, so that's how Wes Payne spun. And there is Walters. It did look like he maybe was side by side with another car as they came up through. So Walters, that was where he dropped out of that lead, and that put Jack Sales up into that podium position, gave Harry George a little bit of a gap. But as they came down, Harry George took that win. Jack Sales just managed to hold on to that third place over Cook as they crossed the line. So great stuff then from the Caterham 7 310R Championship, the Motul sponsored drivers. We now look towards the Caterham 7 270R Championship, the third step of the Caterham Motorsport ladder. They will be concluding our Caterham action. You can see we've even got seagulls all here watching our racing, and I hope everyone at home is enjoying the live streams and the pictures that we're able to bring you from this gem of a racetrack here at Anglesey. And what a spectacular location. If you've never been here, it's a fantastic trip over as well through the Snowdonia National Park and off into Anglesey. We're going to actually get to see some podium celebrations there. You can see that Blair's just been given that second place. Happy. In fact, I think he might have just been preparing his champagne there to make sure he had a quick bit of a head start over the others when he's going to spray his champagne, but they're all paying there ready to... okay, so we're just tidying away David Yates' car. It looks like he's got front left damage, doesn't it? So that's why his he was dropped out late on. Getting asked to put their suits back on, and the Jack Sales there taking that third place is not what you want to do. You can see the the underwear that they have to wear as well. It really is hot and sweaty in the cars, but ready to give Blair McConaughey the second place trophy there. Remember, he's got his champagne all prepared. Jack Sales putting on his Avon sponsorship cap. And then the winner of that race, Harry George, making a bit of a habit of the wins in this opening season. Well done to Harry. He puts on that winner's cap for himself. Resplendent there up on the track. So well done to our 310R drivers. Brilliant effort from the all. They'll have their photograph taken. Satisfying height order. Now, is Blair going to win the race to the champagne? I think if he doesn't, then he's got some questions to answer. He certainly does, and as he certainly wins that battle. Normally, they don't spray each other on the first day because they've got to wear these suits again, but none of that decorum going on today, and actually they're probably quite happy for the shower. Don't want to get it in your eyes, though. That stuff burns, and I can tell you that by personal experience. Take a little bit of a swig of it as well. Not necessarily the wisest of decisions. But yeah, all sorts of wildlife going on here. Remember, we are back tomorrow. We've got this is our final race coming up with the Caterham 7 270R Championship, but we are back tomorrow, due on at about 11:20 is our first race. So make sure you're tuned into the stream from about 11 or even just before there, just to make sure you capture all the build up to our day's racing. But we have 7 races, because as well as the 4 championship racing, the championships that we've seen today, they'll all be back out here. The 7 UKs will have 2 more races. The Roadsport 270 and 310 will have an additional race tomorrow. But we've also got the Academy joining us. So the first step of the Caterham Motorsport ladder, and they will be joining us for their 1 race each for the green and white academy groups, such as the popularity of the Caterham Academy that we have to run in 2 parallel grids. So they both have a championship each, and we'll see 1 race from each of those going on tomorrow. And we're starting around, say, about 11 o'clock tomorrow and going on all the way through until roughly 6 in the evening. So absolutely plenty of Caterham action for you all weekend here at the fantastic Anglesey Circuit, Trackmon as it is known in Wales. And just seeing those cars being removed, extracted and moved back to where they need to be in Parc Fermé. So we will have a little bit of a delay to get the 270s out onto the grid. However, it was nice to be able to see the podium celebrations, and it also gives me a good opportunity to say, remind everyone that it is the British Motor Show, and next weekend, in fact, from the 18th to the 21st of August, so starting on Thursday and going through all the way till Sunday, and that is at the Farnborough. And it is, the British Motor Show back. Here we can see the 270s all lining up. And Caterham will be there in strength. They've got their drift taxis. They've got the supercar parade to do. We've also got the Motorsport arena, where we'll be presenting all of our different Caterham championships. And if you want to come and talk to anyone about how do you get into motorsport, how do you get into Caterham Motorsport, well, there's plenty of people on hand to answer your questions. So we'd love to see you at the British Motor Show, and that's the 18th to 21st of August in Farnborough. Thank you ever so much, as ever, to our marshals as we see them hard at work getting cars back to where they need to be. As we say, the Orange Army is a volunteer army, and we cannot go motor racing without them. Plenty of volunteers at a race weekend, but none more important than the marshals who sit and make sure that we are safe while we do what we love to do. And from all the drivers is... on behalf of that, I understand that Sam is down in that assembly area, and she has got Philip Bianchi with us to talk to us about his race.
So Philip got fastest lap last time out at Donington. Where do you think you can go from here?
Well, the idea is clean race. I'm in a good starting position. I'm just gonna try and do my best, basically. But I'm hoping podium, so we'll see.
All right, thank you. That's the whistle blown, so we didn't get much time there, sorry. But, at least we got 1 quick interview with Philip, so hopefully he shall do well today. They're just moving out onto the grid now.
Yeah, it's always great to hear from our drivers. So, again, the temperature's out there. Is it cooling off with this breeze, or is it actually staying just as hot? It feels just as hot in the commentary box.
Well, It is. I would say the temperature has dropped a tiny fraction. The sun is still so intense, and obviously the track temperature is still very, very hot. It's like retaining the heat. But the breeze is nice, and there's a fragrant smell of seaweed, which so we know we're by the coast.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that's great to see. And in general, I guess the drivers getting out the cars at the end of the race, they do look hot and sweaty, and they definitely look like they've had a half-hour's workout.
Definitely. I think it's even more intense than it was at Donington. I mean, Donington was very, very hot, but it's more so here, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it's just the length of time the sun's been beating down there, and whilst there is a slight breeze, it's not really very heavy, so it's tough. But we've got another great field here, so looking forward to another 30 minutes of 25 cars out there.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure they're all eager to get out there and race, and it's actually probably quite nice of them to race later into the evening, because it is a tad cooler than it was at the height of today. But it'd be interesting to see how these top 4 or 5 drivers pan out at the start, because I'm sure they're championship. Well, we're 4 races in now, aren't we? So the championship points are very crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. They all know that they're coming into the heart of this season now. They're in. We're 4 events in and just over halfway. So yeah, everything becomes a bit more important. Everything becomes a bit more important. So Taylor O'Flanagan comes in here in the lead of the championship, and actually I have to say that his championship is looking fairly solid there. He's got 5 wins out of our opening 8 rounds. So another one, and the ones he hasn't won, he's come second in. So he really has been a force at the front of this championship, and certainly his points total gives him quite a commanding lead ahead of his teammates at this point of the championship. Hugo Bush is second in that title fight, but he, I think, is more focused on trying to beat his teammate Dominic Mansberger, who comes in 3rd. And then the man we heard from in assembly area, Philip Bianchi, is in 4th in the championship. As we see the green flag waving them off onto their green flag lap, and I'm sure we get to confirm their grid order that they start today. So here we go. Dom Mansberger starts in pole, Hugo Bush is in 2nd, O'Flanagan starts 3rd, Gwyn Jones a 4th place on grid, Bianchi starts 5th, Ben Buckley, Peter Mott and Giuseppe Fillet starts 8th. We've got Ryan Errol 9th, Tom Power 10th, Giles Perry 11th, Lancaster in 12th. And then comes Ryan Lovett, Anthony Taylor, Toby Boys and Ian Hapgood. We've got John Ramsey in 17th, Alex Vincent, Dave Curry and Ron Mounsey in 20th. Kevin Turner starts 21st, John Cox, James Hall, Michael Koo 24th. And then 25th on the grid, and rounding out this Caterham 7 270R Mission Motorsport sponsored grid is Chris Griffiths. So great to see the cars here, 25 of these Caterham 7 Championship 270R cars. Mission Motorsport, thankful to their sponsorship of this championship. Great sight as they head up around this rocket. That's been the site of most intense battles, hasn't it, across the 3 races we've seen so far. Certainly a crucial overtaking spot. It is possible into the latter hairpins, but we've not seen too many successful ones, although we did even see an outside move for the lead around the outside of the bus stop, which is, I can't remember ever having seen that before. So it is possible to overtake everywhere, but the move around on the coastal sort of straight and then up into Rocket is where we see most of the action. This weekend. So all there coming out, that's Siemens. It's a tricky left-hander at the bottom of the hill there. Irish Sea in the background as they come up then to the hairpin, and the safety car just following them around as they come to form themselves up onto that grid. So Dom Mansberger 3rd in the championship, but currently leads in the grid today, ahead of his teammate Hugo Bush, Taylor Flanagan, in that 3rd place PT Sports run car. Gwyn Jones in that 4th place. Another good result for him. Great shot as they line up here onto that front row. Fantastic to see them pulling up onto the grid here. Philip Bianchi then and Ben Buckley. So lots of drivers in this field have had sort of a topsy-turvy. The absolute consistency at the front, but Dom Mansberger, Hugo Bush, Taylor O'Flanagan has been there. They've been joined on various occasions by Gwyn Jones, Bianchi. Buckley is a guest driver this year, but he comes and goes and is always up there when he is on the field. So really good to see them as we see the last few cars there, including James Hall in the black and white car. Green flag gets given, they'll get the 5 second, and it will be the first of 2 30-minute races for the Caterham 7 270R Championship. Looking for the lights then. The lights are on, watching for them to go out. They go out now, and off we go. Mansberger got an initial good jump, but Hugo Bush seemed to come back at him as the second gear was taken. Got one car stalled at the back there. Not sure who that is at this stage, but they do now manage to pull away in that purple machinery as they head off round then into banking for the first time. Mansberger making a great start. Hugo Bush in that second place. Taylor Flanagan hanging his rear of his tyre out already. That's a lot to ask your tyres so early on in this race. From Ramsey there, at the back, looking like he's going to flow this field through Church. We saw some exciting 310R. We've also got Lancaster already out on that gravel and dirt. It gets very greedy once it takes you there. It doesn't let you go. So there was a little bit of an uncomfortable moment as they head up now into Rocket, then lock up the inside. It's always worrying to see, is he going to get that car stopped? I think he did. Was that Ryan Lovett or one of the other green cars? It certainly looked like a very big lock up the inside there. So that might have been Ryan Arrows, another green car up in that area. Anyway, all is well because he managed to get the car stopped. And then we have got Mansberger out front in front of Hugo Bush. Taylor Flanagan still in that third place as we watch the rest of the field flowing through left down here into Siemens. So Flanagan in that yellow car, the one we've not seen out of first and second place all season long. Bianchi though has the speed this weekend, and Taylor Flanagan is going to shove it up the inside. He is not going to have necessarily the run out of the corner though, and Hugo Bush will have the tow from his teammate as they come down here. Although they've got another car out wide, is he going to be able to get it back under control? He does. Well done to that driver. Hugo Bush does make that place back. You can see the tow down the inside from his teammate was able to drag him back through. There's Anthony Taylor looking down the inside of Ryan Errol. Ryan Lovett in that sort of green fire car, LFP run. Ryan Lovett there. A little bit further down than sometimes we see him. He's normally a little bit further up through the top 10 than that. Hall making good early progress as well, up into 3 places into 20th. So well done to James Hall as he makes his early progress. There's Gaunt making his way round. We've got a spinner out there. That's the number 42. That's I think that's Buckley, isn't it? So what happened to Buckley on the exit of the banking there? Got a bit of the body work there. Maybe 1 + 1 = 2 there with the body work out there. Another car out wide. That's Giuseppe Fillet with his car and his nose cone flung up into the wind. That's not going to helping his speed as he heads on up into Rocket. This moment he's got a bit of a cork in a bottle situation. Another locked up car. Can they get it stopped? I think it was Anthony Taylor locked up there, maybe at the inside. Does manage to get it stopped. Hugo Bush though takes the lead from his teammate. Looked like Flanagan missed a gear there. You can see that his car suddenly, the Bianchi had to suddenly make a avoiding action. I think Flanagan was a missed gear. We saw it was Freddie Chillicks get stuck in gear before. It can happen, especially in hot weather. There's a move there from 14. And that was Ramsey, isn't it? In the grey number 14, making a move up the inside of a car. But Hugo Bush is in the lead of this race, ahead of his teammate in the Motul sponsored car there. And we are in the Mission Motorsport sponsored 270R race. As we see there, Gwyn Jones also hanging on. It's quite a significant gap from Gwyn Jones back. Was Ben Buckley in that gap, but he's now disappeared, and it's the 96 that follows on next, and that's Mott. So Mott, all these cars, that's Gaunt and around the outside of Lancaster, Lovett, Fillet, and then it's Perry and Vincent there as well. So it's Vincent in that sort of the Union Jack festooned rear panel there. But yeah, this front 5 now have broken away significantly over the chasing pack. Lancaster, and there was a bit of grass taken there by Vincent as he took to the inside. Giuseppe Fillet now noseless, is able to go around the outside, maybe got a bit of a momentum around the outside of Church, but Vincent sticks to the inside. They're going to go side by side. There's not enough room for 2 cars. One of those cars is either going to end up on the grass or they're going to have to back out side by side as we come up into Rocket. What a great shot that is. And Mansberger managed to get slightly later on the brakes and tucks it around the outside of Hugo Bush, and then it's still Bianchi behind them as Taylor and Flanagan still recovering after that missed gear, finds himself down in 4th place. He has seen himself drift down into about 6th place before in earlier rounds and still make its way back through, so I'm sure he's not panicking at this stage. But you see there, Anthony Taylor's made good progress through this field. to get to the 6th or 7th place there. I think he's now in 6th place because he's overtaken Mott, and he started in 14th on the grid, so great result for him. Bianchi taking that fastest lap, 42.633 at this stage, as we see O'Flanagan trying to go around the outside of him and making it stick as well, so around the outside of the hairpin. So we've proved that the outside line on most of these corners works if you're in a Caterham and you've got the right bit of momentum. Bianchi having to be happy to sit in that 4th place. Gwyn Jones in 5th. Mott and Anthony Taylor continue their battle. A little bit of a grassy moment there for the number 12 car of Mountsie in the background there. Mountsie and Hall going side by side. So is Hall continuing his progress up? It certainly looks like he's going to be up in 17th place this time through, having started 23rd. So another great mover. Really late on the brakes there for O'Flanagan. But you can see the rear of his car was not happy when he actually asked the tyres to start turning as well as slowing. I don't think that aided him overall, but what it will do is add extra pressure into those tyres, and the lead two, if they're not hanging the rear of their car out yet, that means that he might well have stronger tyres by the end of this race. One to watch out for anyway, as Hugo Bush goes to the outside of this straight, which then turns into the inside as they head up into Rocket, and he is going to make that move stick. Made it comfortably past by the time they got on the brakes, and it does seem like if you slightly go to the if you outbrake yourself very slightly, you do then protect the inside of his corner. So a lot of the drivers learning that as we come to race here for the first time since I think 2016. So most of these drivers, if not all, will have only ever done testing here. Some of the 7 Championship UK cars drivers will have been here before, but the rest no. Ben Buckley asking the LFP team to check what's going on, but certainly he's not in contention with this race now, so he'll be switching his focus to tomorrow's race instead. Hugo Bush got a little bit of a gap there over Mansberger, and if Flanagan does start to pressure into that 2nd place, he might well have an opportunity to move away. Hugo Bush is in that 2nd place. Bit of a replay here then of what's going on behind. Yeah, there's Ben Buckley. So there was that bodywork. Again, I didn't quite spot exactly what happened there. I wonder whether he is asking the LFP team to check the front because he clonked the front of his nose quite heavily. Maybe that was the issue. But that is the Giuseppe Fillet with his nose just following Vincent, and everything's come back together again. It looks like Anthony Taylor's dropped back into that group again, so he was having he had moved all the way up into that 7th place, but he's now back into 10th as he went across the last 4 places lost. So maybe shuffled out the line and then didn't have an opportunity to get back in again. So all that hard work done, now he's got to do it all again. And Gwyn Jones is doing what he's done a couple of times in the past, and that's sat in that kind of watching space in the red machinery there, and not able to pressure this front group, who have really do have a good turn of pace at the front of this field, but sits in that slipstream and watches them see whether they're going to take each other out, and that has been known. All these drivers have suffered an issue or two throughout the season. So he was there ready to pick up the pieces, but Bianchi, after a disappointing Donington for him, where he got, I think it was a couple of 4th places, but looked like he might well do better than that at times. So he didn't get that podium position, and we've seen him be able to get that podium. He got 2nd earlier in the season, so right back where he needs to be in the battle for this podium as we move into we're just nearly 10 minutes of this race completed, so the first third of this race, the part of the race where they can expect their tyres to have been the best. They're only going to get worse from now on. Great to have the ZZS tyres though here, sponsored from Avon tyres. They are such a versatile piece of kit, and they really do work well, but this temperature is going to make them struggle with grip. Anthony Taylor there looking to see whether he can get past, and he's got past Giuseppe Fillet again. Now he's got Vincent is next on his list of drivers to get past, and that's Ryan Errol just following on with a bit of a watching brief right now as our leaders head on through the banking. Lead 4 cars, and then the voyeur, Gwyn Jones there in the 5th place as he looks to see whether he can hang on to this fast quartet as they head on round Church. Absolutely using every single last piece of that track and curbing that they're allowed to use. We have seen a few track limits in qualifying. I've not really seen them in the race so far. Hugo Bush managed to protect from Mansberger quite successfully for a couple of laps. So I don't know whether Hugo Bush is that driver who's just got that ultimate little bit of pace to string out this field a little bit, and certainly looking at Gwyn Jones and his struggle to keep in contact, I think Hugo Bush certainly does have some of that pace. He's been probably the most in the lead most this weekend, or this race so far. Mansberger did start from that pole position though, so he's clearly got the single lap pace. Ryan Lovett there just ahead of Lancaster, as the Lancaster heading back down that field. We saw him having a gravelly, grassy moment early in this race, and he's now fully ensconced in that battle. But it is this lead two do still look like they're threatening to pull away from third and fourth place. If anything's going to happen, that's what it looks like. But as we've seen in the earlier races today, it's just unlikely to sustain itself. We've seen as soon as you do get a bit of battling going on, that's when the gaps just evaporate. Remember that Hugo Bush does need these points over Taylor O'Flanagan. O'Flanagan is sitting comfortably in that championship, so the only thing he can hope is that Taylor O'Flanagan has some bad results in this tail end of the season, and he can continue to stay in this lead pack and lead the races. In fact, he needs the wins if he wants hope. Like I say, more than that, I think he's also focused on the fact that he's ahead of his teammate there, Don Mansberger, who follows him in the championship. Mansberger's had a couple of poor results too. He's got a 14th and a 7th to drop out of his scores when we come to drop scores, so he will come back closer into the championship when we consider those drop scores. So tight, I can't see how he didn't actually hit the rear of Hugo Bush there as they went up into Rocket that time through. We're just watching some of the rear, the more towards the midfield battles here. There's that Giuseppe Fillet, see the nose cone on his radiator. You can see exactly how close the radiator is to the front of these Caterham cars as he heads up into that thing there. So also extremely fragile. If they get a tear in the Motul, then they will leak all their fluid out relatively quickly, and that is the end of your race. So yes, as we watch this midfield battle, it's raging on. Vincent there, Taylor again suffering a little bit as this race has gone on. He did move up all the way into that 7th place, and Ramsey we saw earlier also pushing to try and go forward, has dropped backwards. And then Ron Manson in the number 12 car we saw having that side-by-side ding-dong a little bit earlier. Fastest lap of the race then by Bush so far, 42.0, and another championship. In fact, we have confirmation then that I think there was a little contact. It almost looks like there is some damage to Mansberger's nose cone there, doesn't it? Whether he carried that into this race or not, but when we last saw him, he was right on the tail of Hugo Bush, and now he's having to defend for 4th, and it looks like O'Flanagan is going to take away that place from him, although he's hanging on around the outside. It tucks in on you on the exit. So again, another demonstration that you can hang on around the outside, especially when the tyres are in the hot, angry state that they will be in at this stage of the race. Hugo Bush, though, has got a little bit of a gap over. Now is Bianchi in that 2nd place, so he is now matching his best result. He has to take a win if he wants to better his result. He's onto the gravel, though, as they head on round Church, and that's going to allow Hugo Bush a little bit of a comfort break then back to this battle then, which will be the battle for 2nd place. Bianchi there doing Hugo Bush a big favour. Now Mansberger having to sit behind him as they head into Rocket. Taylor O'Flanagan, though, has been in 4th and 3rd now for a majority of this race, and that's not where he's accustomed to being. He will want to try and make his way up and through past those drivers in front of him. 17 minutes of the race to go, though, so still plenty of time. There's the Anthony Taylor, Steve Lancaster battle, which has been going pretty much the full length of the race. The rest of the cars all following through this nose-to-tail battle as they head in this midfield has been great. Lancaster there showing how little grip the rear of his car has got as he gets up through Peel. Like I say, the sun really does bake down on that top corner up there, and again, where it's already hot elsewhere, it's probably going to be the peak heat at that point, especially after you've just had a big braking effort and also a big turning effort around those hairpins. The tyres will have worked extremely hard by the time they get to that right-hander over the top of the hill. Love it here, following on from Gaunt. Gaunt there running in. I'll find that on the screen in a second. 71. Oh, it's Perry in that car. Sorry, it's it's not Gaunt. It's actually Perry running that car this weekend. My mistake. I will get that dialed into my brain as we head on through. Ramsey there in the grey machinery, though. Love it there. Yeah, ahead of that machinery. So is that Tom Power, in fact? I'm getting this mistaken, right? So that is Tom Power in that car, where I'm mistaking it from. He is the guest this time out. He even mentioned it to me earlier, so sorry, Tom. As we're watching Bianchi and Mansberger still battling for that second place. New fastest lap by Mansberger, though. He's moved it on a couple more hundredths of a second, so he's taken that extra point currently where he's sat. So Flanagan's still in that 4th place. But yeah, Tom Powell back with us. It's his first race in a Caterham for a while, and he was an absolute front runner, so it's great to see him back out there and absolutely getting stuck in. Started 10th place, now running in 8th place, so congratulations to him. Welcome back to the grid. Wyn Jones there in that middle ground, isn't he, between this crew. He's proudly displaying his Welsh flag there, so a great result for him, but he will certainly be nice if he could get onto that podium, wouldn't it, this weekend? And I'm sure he's got some friends and family here that will be cheering him on. Maybe can celebrate with a few beers later on as well to cool off after the racing is done. Hugo Busch has protected that little mini gap that he's got for a while now. Bianchi still having to look in his mirrors more than look ahead. Mansberger, though, will be keen to actually get to the front, so he might be happy to sit here for a little bit and let Bianchi draw them back in, although Bianchi missed that apex entirely, and that's not going to be helping their cause. It's such a tricky apex to pick out, that one. It's actually quite a tight bend into that bus stop after, again, a long straight, so you've got quite a heavy braking, and if you miss it slightly, then yeah, that can be the end of the opportunity to make any impression on that apex. And again, turn 1 as well, as we're watching these cars slide around. There's Tom Powell sliding around just ahead of Giuseppe Fillet. In fact, that's another car that I recognise from my going up through the ranks. That's one of the Pratt cars, and it's Ollie Pratt's car that he's running there. And so yeah, nice to see these Caterham Motorsport ladder is such a stable beast that these cars sit with us. I think that started in about 2013, so these cars stick around and they are valid. So if you were looking to get into motorsport of any type, why not come into the Caterham Motorsport ladder? You've seen how exciting the race is as we see the number 17 Vincent there locking up, and we've got Lovett and contact with Power, so I'm not sure all that locking up and a bit of an issue up there. And now we've got a car, I think, probably stranded, so Power having to, yeah, he's got a broken front wheel now, so he's going to be stranded. He might well have a safety car, although he can potentially move that car out of danger. But Lovett looks like, is he able to get that car going again? He looked like he was trying, so we might avoid that, depending on where Power can get his car to. Unfortunate for him, what a sad end to his resurgent visit to our grid. He's able to manoeuvre that car, so when the marshal's asking, I think, to put him behind the barriers, so maybe we are going to get away. A little bit of a replay then, yeah, Tom Power just not able to stop that car at all, maybe just completely picked the wrong braking point there, didn't have any opportunities to stop their car, and absolutely careered into the back of Ryan Lovett's car there. An unfortunate end to his race, so Ryan Lovett will be very disappointed with the end to his race for sure. Yankees broken clear of the Mansberger in 3rd, so it's 3rd and 4th battle there, Mansberger O'Flanagan. As we see Tom Power just looking and inspecting the damage. I'm sure Caterham will do their best to try and get him back out into the action. Ryan Lovett has also had to pull away, so there'll be an uncomfortable conversation between the two of them, I am sure, as well. Yellow flags are marking the top end of the circuit as we see the leaders going through. Just marking at the moment, I think probably just to double check there's no slippy surface. We've got water down on that bit of the track, but let's rejoin that lead battle then. It's all strung itself out just a touch, hasn't it? But the lead gap that Hugo Busch had got is being reduced by Bianchi quite rapidly. Bianchi taking the fastest lap now with a 41.758. So absolutely, I think the yellow flag, you can see the marshal was retrieving bits of bodywork on the outside of that track there. Not a comfortable place to be, which is why there was that waved yellow. Thank you to our marshals for sorting that situation out. We've got no safety car to contend with, and therefore we can keep the action going. Hugo Busch will certainly be thankful for that with his little gap, but it's a diminishing gap over Bianchi. Mansberger comes up next, and then O'Flanagan doesn't look like the threat he normally does there in 4th place. So he is currently down in that 4th place, and maybe looking like a victory is not going to come his way. He's been in 1st and 2nd, as I said, throughout the rest of the season on every single visit to the podium. He's been on either 1st or 2nd spot, so unusual to see it, but it was bound to happen at some point with the quality of these lead 4 or 5 drivers that we've got in this field. He was not going to have it all his own way throughout the whole of the season. But never say never. We've still got 11 minutes to go, and you can see how tight they run in this Caterham racing. There's absolutely no gap between them as they headed through the banking corner. using every single last millimetre of the track there as they head into Church to try and maximise. He's driven over the edge of the track on the exit there, but it didn't seem to cost him too much time. We've had so much dry weather that we haven't got any issues with moisture on the outside of the track. Even here at Anglesey, it's absolutely bone dry everywhere, as we see the kind of picture of Graveyard here at Rocket. But Mansberger still managing to protect quite nicely from O'Flanagan. I wonder whether he's just keeping everything in check, ready for the end part of this race, where he knows actually that's where the points-paying part of this race is. Down here, the sun's starting now to get a bit lower on the horizon, and as we move into nearly 7 o'clock in the evening now, so the sun is going to start becoming an issue. We've got some people with clear visors, and you'll see other drivers choosing the sort of tinted visors, and that might become important as we head here and the sun comes lower in the sky. It certainly can become an issue, and visibility does become harder. But Bianchi is right up with Hugo Bush at the moment, and pulling to the outside there as we come into the bus stop. We've seen the outside run work, but only if this overlap is significant and early. But I think he might well have an overlap now going into turn 1. It's going to be close. No, he chooses to pull back. They've got quite a comfortable gap behind them, so that's probably the sensible choice at this point, just to hold it there until such time as there's a better opportunity. One of the things you'll see in the sort of higher up the championship ladder you go, the more the drivers will take their opportunities carefully. They won't just go for every single opportunity. They'll choose the one that actually is going to work out for them, especially when you've got a gap and a position to protect like this. They've got a comfortable first and second between them two of them now. The only people that can cause a problem, as we see a problem around turn 1, that's Vincent. Is that Giuseppe Fillet again? So these cars have been sort of caught up in wars all the way through. So something happened through turn 1 then, didn't it? Is that also Mott, I think? So that we saw that battle happening intensely all throughout that race, and it looks like it's come to a head around turn 1. Didn't look like Vincent was very happy with the proceedings as they went in. But there we are. Mansberger has now fallen behind O'Flanagan. I wonder whether O'Flanagan's got the pace in the last 8.5 minutes then to draw him and Mansberger back into that battle, or will Mansberger choose to continue to battle and therefore reduce that impact of the possibilities. It certainly looks like it's going to be a battle for third place for them and a battle for first and second for Hugo Bush, who currently holds first place over Bianchi in that second place. See that you've got the Caterham Gatwick sponsorship there for Bianchi in the second place there, and the DPR sponsored or DPR run car of Hugo Bush in first place, and then we've got PT Sports car running in for Taylor O'Flanagan. So great to see the teams up there also having their own inter battles. Mansberger there, and he's following on nice and tight, so he's certainly not lost interest in this third place, and he'll probably just try and monitor to see what's going to happen. Bianchi has taken a 41.547 now, so using the toe of Hugo Bush to set that fastest lap, and it will also be, just check to see there, I don't think we've got a lap record for the 270s either. It would have been a track sport spec car. I think 41.6 was their lap time, so have just beaten that, so it does will outright beat the track sport old lap record in this new 270R spec car. And Bianchi up the inside, that goes to the outside of Rocket, and therefore he has made that move comfortably stick, and I think Hugo Bush again let him have that so that we didn't compromise them. He does not want to see O'Flanagan getting any closer in his rear view mirror at this point of the race. Bianchi certainly looks like he's also got to some pace, so he can be comfortable that he will be dragged along quite nicely. Thank you very much. And with over 6 minutes of this race to go, as a driver again you are still mindful that's quite a few laps left that you just have to manage, and it's not worth actually fighting this. Ramsey's lost the end piece of his exhaust there. We may well see wadding, which is that sort of stuff you can see hanging out there, start spraying itself across the track, and that can be a problem. It's not necessarily it's soft, and therefore it's not a problem as far as damage goes, but it can get stuck under tyres and therefore be a bit slippery to get stuck in radiators and cause overheating, so keep an eye out for that. Also quite a nasty noise from that car, I'm sure, as it heads off around the track. Bianchi though takes them across the line with 6 minutes to go ahead of Hugo Bush, and now the gap back to Taylor O'Flanagan and Mansberger, so still going 2 by 2. You can see the car left there in the middle of the circuit. Can't see whether that's being covered by yellow at this point, but at some point, even if it is covered by yellow, they will withdraw that, as the drivers all have an opportunity to see that car, and it's not in a particular dangerous firing spot. Doesn't look like there's any yellow flag there on that turn 1, so they are all clear to race. You can see plenty of bodywork though on the outside of that track, and we can see bodywork sometimes cause radiator punctures and things like that. So there is that Ramsey car, and he is followed by Perry in the number 71 and Lancaster in the 49. Lancaster Maloney on the back of his car. We've got a battle again up there that looks like it. You can see there's a dust cloud, and there was also dust on Mansberger's wheels, so it was signifying that he had taken that sort of early turn-in point, which means that you clobber the dust on the inside of the track, and it's a bit of an uncomfortable ride. But O'Flanagan moved back into 4th place. Carbon Creative sponsored car of O'Flanagan there in that 4th place currently. What can he do in this final 5 minutes? Bianchi, though, has led now for a little while. Hugo Busch happy to sit there and watch him for the moment, but I don't think he'll be happy to do that all the way to the end. He needs those wins. He needs the extra point that it gives you, and Bianchi still holds that fastest lap, but Hugo Busch in his championship needs those extra points, but certainly he'd be happier with seeing that Mansberger and Taylor O'Flanagan are still battling in his rearview mirror. And Gwyn Jones in the distance, sitting there in his comfortable 5th place. Very lonely race for him, but very hot and lonely. I'm sure he's just concentrating on getting to the end and looking forward to a bottle of water given to him assemblies. Up the inside of turn 1, saw Mansberger holding on around the outside before, and he continues to do so, does so successfully. 4 minutes of this race. Will they make it to the end? Still in this order. Will my voice last to the end of this race? Let's all find out in this next 4 minutes of the race to go, as Mansberger is up the inside of the church. They are going side by side. They are not going to be battling for the win in this race. They are absolutely just battling for the 3rd place podium playing trophy at this point. You can never go through sideways side through that corner and still hold all the pace. You can see they're even having to dab on their brakes just to check that the brake pedal's there. Obviously, you're coming around there at a great lick of knots on this 7 Championship 270R race car, probably 110, 115 miles an hour as you come up into that corner, and then hammer on the brakes, and you've also got the gravity to help you out. But when you're in the driver's seat, they both drift off wide, as O'Flanagan does take that position back though, so great manoeuvre around the outside of Peel there. Hugo Busch having to defend. So here comes, Hugo Busch dropping off the back of Bianchi as we rejoin these cars. I think we're going to be starting our penultimate lap with 1:41 lap time, so it does look like we'll probably be starting our penultimate lap this time through. Mansberger absolutely late on the brakes that time through, right to the edge of the track. It's not going to help him on the actual corner, but he will have an absolute run of speed as he comes down the hill here into bus stop, so they will be nose to tail again by the time we get to the braking point. That tricky braking point where you've got to try and figure out where the curbing is. Also pit entrance down there, which can confuse your eyes a little bit sometimes when you first start learning the Anglesey track. Through turn 1 then. 2 minutes 30 seconds left. O'Flanagan takes that 3rd place. Doesn't look like he's going to be in that first second, so he can maintain his podium run from the start of the season, but at the moment he's not going to have a chance to maintain the pristine 1st or 2nd positions. But Mansberger, if you know anything about Mansberger, you know he is not going to be happy. It sat in that non-podium paying position. He will be doing everything he can. Bianchi has got the absolute pace today. He started in 5th place on our grid, but he, in this race focus and the temperatures that we've got right now, really has got a lick of speed in that car, the number 16 car, and Hugo Busch there now managing to get back after the long straight, but every time we come back to them, the gap seems to develop in the favour of Bianchi. Doesn't mean that Hugo Busch doesn't have the nous to do it. He's a very wily racer and will know how to position himself. Has been known to outbrake himself a couple of times whilst trying. It's always good to see race drivers really try and make and force position passes, but that also has cost him in the past, and he will be keen not to cost himself today. He knows how important these points are. He's not really fighting Bianchi, even though Bianchi is 4th place in that championship. He'll be keen for the points though, and what he hasn't got is the point for fastest lap either. And there's an extra point for winning the race. You get 2 points clear of the person who finishes in second place. So it's become, by the end of the season, those wins can become really, really important. But Bianchi holds that leading position. As you can see on your screen, we are coming onto that last lap then of our final Caterham action for today. Remember, we've got back for plenty more racing tomorrow, though, all day, starting around 11 o'clock. And yeah, don't go anywhere, because these guys will be action again for more of the same. What can Hugo Bush do in the final part then of this race? The final lap, he's locked up tyres. What happened there? What on earth happened there? Something very, very strange. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't know whether he caught the brake pedal instead of the accelerator. Maybe that's another reason why we keep seeing these gaps develop. That was an extremely unusual thing to see. I've never seen that before. Like I say, maybe the accelerator was missed and he pressed the brake instead, but that seems strange and unlikely. Anyway, he is currently safe where he is. Let's keep an eye out whether that has any problems. There is Mansberger back in front of Taylor O'Flanagan. You can see how the cars are really not attached to this circuit at the moment. They are drifting and gliding, and you can see the rear wing is also a little bit loose there from Taylor O'Flanagan, but he is not done yet, and he has shown that he can create an overtaking opportunity in different places. He's going to look to the outside of Siemens. That doesn't often work, but there is Bianchi in a nice clean lead for this race at the moment. I wonder whether he saw that sort of in his mirrors and just wondered what the heck was going on, certainly like I did. But he certainly, we've got a contact at the top of the hill. That's Ramsey. Saw him an issue earlier on. Is that 71 car of Perry as well? So anyway, as we come down, Bianchi is clear of Hugo Bush then into that lead, and he will take his maiden win. So he is, I think, the 4th winner this season so far. So great for Bianchi. Hugo Bush does take that second place, and who is going to be third place then over the line? They are side by side. It's going to be Taylor O'Flanagan in the third place. They were side by side coming through the last bus stop corner there, but O'Flanagan took it over the top of Mansberg. We said that he was inventive about how he was making overtaking opportunities, so he does maintain that little bit of a fist pump there, as I think he probably stole one away from Mansberger then. I think Mansberger may have thought he'd got it done, but we didn't see that quite as we came to the tail end of this race. But yeah, as we see the rest of the field now coming across the line, taking their checkered flag. But Bianchi, what a great result for him, his win and the fastest lap as well, 41.547, which will be the lap record as well for him. So really coming away with everything you can out of that race, as the graveyard gets even more intense at the top of the hill here for the Caterhams. Caterham will be out there helping, making sure all these cars as much as possible can get out again tomorrow, they work wonders oftentimes to bring back cars from what looks like fatal damage, but actually bring them back. But Hugo Bush, other than that strange thing, which hopefully we'll figure out what's going on, he can tell us in Parc Fermé. Yeah, his second place, he will be relatively pleased with that, I'm sure. There's Ben Buckley, who did rejoin that race then, after we saw him in the pits. I guess he was just checking out that nose cone, but it means he's classified ahead of a few people and will start slightly higher on the grid tomorrow. Now Flanagan managing to maintain. So let's have a look at the provisional results then from that first race. What a shot that is over the Irish Sea. What a great shot that is. Philip Bianchi taking the win then over Hugo Bush in second, and Taylor O'Flanagan maintaining his podium run in third place. Mansberger will be disappointed with fourth. Gwyn Jones will only fifth. Ryan Errol, Lancaster, Taylor, Ramsey and Toby Boys rounds out the top 10. Then 11th is James Hall, Hapgood, Mountsie, Curry, Turner, Cox, Fillet, Coo, Griffith and Perry rounds out 20th. And then we have Ben Buckley classified 21st, Alex Vincent 22nd, Mott, Lovett and Power, who we all saw up on the top end, not making it to the end, but they will be back for tomorrow for more of the same. As we see that sun setting down over the Irish Sea, we're just waiting for our drivers to arrive in assembly area. Sorry, Parc Fermé area, I should be clear of that. This is different from assembly. We see a lot of tidy up for our marshals, and again, thank you ever so much to all of our marshals for all your hard work today. I know for them the day is not over yet. They've still got action left to do, but they have got a bit of Caterham debris to clean up. You can see all the medical and rescue teams there, just making sure all the drivers are okay. And we're going to be able to go down to Sam, who has got our winners from that excellent 270R race.
Yes, I'm here with Philip. Congratulations, a well-deserved podium, and I think it's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, feels like it. It's always been like consistently 4th, 5th, to finally get it. I had a bit of luck on my side too, but it worked out. I was really happy, really happy.
And you got fastest lap as well.
Did I really? Bonus.
Excellent, congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll move over to Hugo. Hugo, don't walk away.
Sorry.
That's all right. Congratulations, 2nd place. I know it's not quite the win as you probably wanted and almost got, but yes, congratulations.
Yes, and I suppose 2nd at least not to probably a championship rival, which is good. But yeah, hit brake instead of clutch, which is not.
We were wondering what happened there. Yes.
Yeah, so that cost me the opportunity, obviously. But
I thought you might be just sitting there patiently waiting on that final lap.
I was, but then it all went wrong. Yeah.
On to tomorrow then.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's grab Taylor. Oh, Taylor's wandered over to see his family and friends. So I'll just have a quick wander over to him. They're all very happy. Congratulations, Taylor. 3rd place, more points for you.
Yeah, super chuffed. A tough race, as you probably saw. So yeah, very happy to come back on the podium.
Excellent. And you got your fan club behind you?
As always, the best team crew in the world.
Excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We have got some highlights then of that 270R race for you. And here we go then with the highlights. There was a stall off that line, wasn't there? He was a bit slow away. Didn't catch when the number was. Up into Rocket was again going to be a cause of a lot of action throughout the whole of that race, and we saw they did sort themselves out though quite nicely, and there's a little bit bumpy ride out there for one of our drivers. And we saw this front 4 breakaway, didn't we? And Gwyn Jones there in the 87 just getting left in that middle ground. Bit of a spin there. That was the Ben Buckley spin that we saw during the race. And then it was this front 4 that just swapped positions quite a lot. Bianchi at the moment, or the start of the race, was down in that 4th place, but he wouldn't stay there. He'd actually make that good progress. And we saw Tom Power losing his braking point and ending Ryan Lovett's race there. But it was by the end of the race we did see Bianchi come out in front, and then we had this very unusual, strange incident where instead of pressing the clutch, Hugo Bush touched it's such a shame those two cars got caught up. It was Ramsey and Mott there who had been up there, but after catching the brake pedal rather than the clutch, that left Bianchi to run away into the win, and he had to Hugo Bush had to settle for 2nd, and out this last corner we just saw that side-by-side move anyway. It was O'Flanagan just got the nod over Dom Mansberger. So what a fantastic way to end the action for today. I'm sure we can try and catch the podium celebrations with our drivers. But just a reminder that whilst that's the end of the action for Caterham today, there is absolutely a ton more to go for tomorrow at this fantastic Anglesey Circuit. You can see some beautiful pictures on your screen now. 7 whole races to go tomorrow. Goodness me, will my voice last? But we have got action from everyone you've seen today. We've got the 7 UK cars doing 2 races. We've got Roadsport, 310R, 270R, all for a 2nd race. And then we have also we'll be joined with the Academy drivers as well. The white group and the green group will be joining us for their 1 race each tomorrow. So they were starting that stream at around 11 o'clock, but we are ready to go to our podiums. And you can hear in the background there we go, Taylor O'Flanagan getting his trophy for 3rd place and maintaining that podium run throughout the season so far. Hugo Bush taking that 2nd place. Well done to Hugo. Getting congratulations from Kirsty. And Philip Bianchi's mum's going to present him with the winner's trophy. It's so nice to see such a family event, Caterham Motorsport, and really nice to see that. Congratulations there from Hugo as well. He's not used to this top step of the podium. He'll have to get that victory hat on. Not used to this procedure, but they're doing well. But it's great to see these 3 drivers up there, and Bianchi taking his first win. So what a great end to his race weekend. See whether he can do it all again tomorrow, though. He's got another opportunity, and he certainly had the pace, didn't he? He had the pace to be able to do that, as they then sent their focus to the Champagne. Who's going to win this race this time? Rightly, the 2 podium people who've been on the podium for most of this season got the better of Bianchi there, and absolutely gave him a soaking. Congratulations to all of our Caterham drivers today for all of your actions. Remember, tomorrow we are here for 7 races. We're starting at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Make sure your stream is turned on at that time, and we're going all the way through to about 6. We've got 7 whole races to bring you, and I can't wait to do that. The weather is due to be the same, so you can expect more racing exactly the same as we've had today. Thank you ever so much to all of our marshals, organising club, Caterham, all of our drivers for all of it you do, and again, we'll have a good night's sleep, and we'll see. Thanks so much to Sam as well, out there in the heat and lack of shade, but we will see you again for more of the same tomorrow. Goodbye.